Hello, and welcome to episode 201 of Flix and the Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever no ways, the man, the myth, the Alessandro Boelsi. Say hello, Al.
You flicked too hard.
It's embarrassing for you. On this week's episode, Sir Big Spur, LS Dunes, Miguel Sapochnik exits Hot D. Don't Google Hot D. D23 Expo, the Emmys, all before diving into our flick of the week, Thor, Love and Thunder. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
We are drinking Carton Brewing's Scoot Scoot Scoot, which is a New England double IPA, which I think that's the first time we've had one of those specifically. I feel like that's the first time I've ever had a double IPA that's a New England style double IPA. We've had many double IPAs. We've had many New England IPAs. I don't think we've had a New England.
I've definitely had double New Englands, but I don't know that we've done them on the show.
Okay. 5 SRM, 7% alcohol by volume, 25 IBUs. Comes in a pint, which we love. Rolling into a hazy party like Citra on Citra on Citra. This one is just a little respect from the deck for our favorite player in the hop game. Nothing drips with sticky hop fruits quite like it. For Scoot Scoot Scoot, we brought our favorite player to the party in all its best gear. Pellets, powder, and oil on pellets. Drink Scoot 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 and stack.
They need to relax. Settle down.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that, but whatever.
I love cartons. I like their logo. The can art's decent. I like the consistency of their labeling. I don't know. I'm a fan of their beers.
I feel certain I've had one or two of theirs. I can't recall them, though, off the top of my head. I know I've seen similar labels. I know I've had them, but I just can't recall which.
I do like grabbing their 077XX if I'm in a town that I haven't been in before, because they do those collaborations within the area. Mm-hmm. So like they'll do their 077 series will be like paired with another brewery from the area that it's being distributed in. Okay. So those are pretty cool. But I've had pretty good luck with them. I feel like they're a consistent thumb. Full thumb. Two-thuckle. You know what I mean?
They're a consistent thumb.
Before we taste this beer, I'm going to... Just small caveat. When I asked you what beer we were drinking today, you might as well have said the furthest back one in your refrigerator. Listen, this one I'm pretty sure is like a good 2 years old.
I can barely... No, it's not that old, but we have had it for a while. I can barely keep my fridge organized because people keep meddling with it. I certainly can't account for how your fridge is organized.
Oh, no. I mean, this is just more speaking to the age of it because I just put them in the front when they come up. But I will say I do love their barcode.
You gotta rotate, man. You gotta rotate.
The barcode that is a carton is beautiful. Al, let's get into this one, shall we?
Cheers.
Cheers. Thud. Oh, nice. 2 things of glass. I like what you did there.
Like a clank.
Like a crime.
Like a liar.
Oh man, this is good. I'm going. It's definitely got all that citroness that I love.
Very, very solid. This doesn't taste 2 years old.
It doesn't. It actually tastes like surprisingly fresh.
Oh, this was canned. Or no, maybe is that Best Buy?
Uh-oh.
There's a date that's of 2021. My point is it's not 2 years old.
It's close. It could be close.
No, it's all it's like smushed against like the rim of the can, so I can't properly read it.
I was gonna say I don't have any indicator in mine. It was probably like 4 smacked together, and you have the can that has the date printed on it.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? What are you going thuckle wise on this side?
Very tasty. I would give this 2 thuckles for sure.
Yeah, it's a double thuckle. I like it. You know me. If it's got citra hops in it, there's a good chance you're getting at least 2 thuckles out of me.
It's funny. It's very Citra-y.
Mm-hmm.
The hop profile, obviously, because this is a New England style, is not going to give you a super floral one, but it feels like it's lacking in the floral to the extent that it almost doesn't taste like an IPA. It's maybe a bit too juicy, like in the sense of like it doesn't feel like an IPA. It just feels like some sort of juicy pale ale or whatever.
I could see that. It's definitely.
I expect that a New England IPA needs to have that backbone of bitterness and floralness to actually be a double IPA.
Sure.
Yeah,
it doesn't have the floral, but it's got like it does have like the pithy bitterness of like a grapefruit rind.
Yeah, but I associate that with the fruit aspect, not the hop aspect. Even though obviously it's the hop that's giving you the grapefruit, but not it's giving the flavor more than the bitterness.
Sure.
And I'm surprised that it's able to be classified as a double IPA with only 25 IBUs. I would have thought that number would have had to have been higher. I know it's some sort of indication of both alcohol content, which it has a 7%, so that's right. But I would have thought the IBUs would have had to have been at least 40 or 50.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's nice, tasty. I would drink again.
Very solid, very drinkable.
You've had other cartons before, you said, right? No?
Yeah, I just don't recall which of them.
Yeah, nice, pretty good Jersey staple.
Little chunky on the end.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, I left a little in the can.
Well, I couldn't get the whole pour into the glass on the first go. I didn't have the proper glass, and I had like enough left where it's like, okay, I need to pour some of this, but still expecting to not pour all of it. But because it had now resettled with the less fluid, the solids started coming out earlier in the pour than I anticipated.
Oh, yeah. I've gotten into the habit now of like, I leave a good ounce at the bottom of the can.
No, it's too easy.
Because I really cannot stand how it changes the beer when that, like, if any of that gets dumped into it.
It depends on the beer, and it depends on what actually is settled at the bottom.
Really, so what I'll do is I'll finish this. I will pour the rest of the can into the glass and see if it's worth drinking or not at the end. But I won't risk ruining the entire beer.
Yeah. No, it didn't ruin it. It's more aesthetically unpleasing than anything.
Yeah. You got little floaters in there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Little chunky guys? I feel like they make my throat scratchy.
No, these ones are too fine for that.
Yeah, mine definitely looks nicer than yours, but then again, the camera is also not transmitting in the best quality, so who could say? Who could say what the actual reason is?
You actually look fine on this one. I do feel like I'm talking to you in a Star War or something because of this super narrow letterbox strip of Skype that we're using this time around. It's weird. I feel like I'm not talking to you via a video call. It feels like I'm watching a movie in which I'm talking to you in a video call, where like those don't actually, or at least like older ones, like weren't actually reflective of it because they were like just like projecting an image onto the screen. You weren't actually doing the call in real time.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. I just don't understand. Like Skype's been around for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. Prior to this version update, things were fine. Like, it's got to work well.
I really liked the full screen you with the picture-in-picture me that when I jumped to the browser would pull the little picture-in-picture you with me. Mm-hmm. Now they've eschewed the picture-in-picture and have decided to put you in the ultra letterbox wide screen view with me picture-in-picture but like floating over the screen for no good reason.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I feel like I remember that joke. It was an older Family Guy, which they were watching Lawrence of Arabia, presented an extra wide letterbox, extra wide screen, and they show it, and it's this super thin strip that it was just color. You couldn't see anything because it was only about a millimeter thick, and they're like, "Wow!" And Stewie says something like, "Ooh, who's that? That beautiful lady," and Brian goes, "Peter O'Toole."
That's so good. It's so funny to think about, like, back in the day, like buying VHS tapes and going out of your way to get a full screen to ensure that you were getting a full screen.
Oh yeah, my life for like 5 years from like 1999 to 2003.
Yeah, That's so funny. And then the other part of it is the that one, I don't know, that 2 month period where DVDs were double sided, where they had widescreen on one side and full screen on the other. I've got a handful of those. Definitely have an Ace Ventura kicking around in that mode. It's really bizarre. Especially now, it's so confusing to me to see when a full screen video gets thrown up, and the black bars on the side is so disorienting.
Yeah,
it makes it look like such trash.
It's true. It's unfortunately very true.
I just wish all of my screen, all of the time, could be a thing. I understand it can't.
You would like your widescreen to be a full screen? Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you have the widescreen, but you're still getting the letterbox because the aspect ratio isn't quite there. It's like, well, come on now. you can definitely do better than what you're doing.
Guys, this war was won 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Come on.
Just get to be bigger. Oh man. That's why I feel like I gotta eventually go the projector route and to be able to knock out that area. Just the visual that I need printed on there. That'd be perfect.
We really need to update the basement projector and get a 4K one. Mm-hmm. It's still 1080p, so I really rarely use this now. I used to love it so much, but the TV in the family room is so much better.
Yeah, it puts it to the shame.
What's that?
It puts it to shame.
It does. To the point where, like, when I was younger... Well, not when I was younger. That's not the right way to phrase this. Years ago.
Many moons.
No, not that many moons is the point. People would talk about,
some moons?
You can see the pixels or whatever, and it's like, shut the fuck up. But now that I've watched so much on 4K that when I use the projector, I'm like, oh my god, I can see the pixels.
Yeah. It's weird. We get accustomed to those beautiful screens. I've been seeing some of the short throw projectors against one of those like fancy projector screens that help with the ambient light reflection, and they look bonkers. Like so good. Like can do the screen size that you guys have down there, but from like a couple feet away from the wall.
Okay.
And it's like sits down instead of up. Which is pretty wild. Because then you could have like a legit like entertainment console with the thing sitting on top of it and all of your stuff in that console with it, and still have all of the benefits of the projector.
How does that work though? I feel like that would only work with like a stadium seating type like or amplifier.
No, it's like a crazy literally you put it down next to the wall, like however many inches away from the wall it could do like whatever the max is, like say 120 inches or something like that. And there's just like really efficient short throw, like the way that the mirrors and the lasers are on it, like it just is able to project it at that angle perfectly and in crystal clear quality.
Yeah, it's funny. Like a few weeks ago, my mom said something like, "You guys aren't watching football in the family room all year on Sunday." I was like, "Yeah, no, we are. I'm sorry. I know that you don't love it. I said, I know you'd like to banish us to the basement, but like, you don't have to like football. But I'm going to put it on in front of you here, watch it for 5 minutes, and then go watch it downstairs and tell me that you're going to force us to watch it down there because no, we're not going down there."
Bring your TV.
Yeah, no, fuck that. It's so obnoxious to get it on and off that mount.
Yeah, I don't even know how. I'm kind of curious how expensive those projectors are. Short throw projector, 4K. I know that. I'm pretty sure the screens, like the really good screens, are close in price to the projector itself. The ones that do that light diffusion. Oh, okay, like $4,000, $2,000 to $4,000.
Jeez, first of all, that's a wide range of outcomes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming the quality is going to go up significantly with every 500.
Sure.
Would be my guess.
Historically, the projector was not great during the daytime for certain applications. Like gaming was tough during the day. Watching anything that happened in a dark room was tough during the day. We now have a much better like blinds over on like the wall on the one side, where in the first half of the day, that's where the sun kind of sort of comes in anyway. And then just the ambient light from the window in the back, I actually just put a couple of pillows up in there, and it just like the side by side mirror window, not the up and down window there.
Yeah,
like the small one. And so now it's really fine.
You have to shut the lights off though, right? Like,
oh no, yeah, I always would do that regardless.
Yeah, I found when the OLED that I have down here in the family room den. Well, I don't know what you call it. Basement, whatever the hell this room next to me is called. It just feels weird because basements always seem like they're underground, but I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's at the base, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a beautiful picture. Like the picture is insane. The brightness is amazing, but because the blacks are the room is absolutely too long. I definitely need to be closer to it. It's wasted on the fact that room is 1,000 feet. But the problem is like it's so good. Like the blacks are so good that they reflect too much if any lights are on. So it's like the opposite of being washed out. It's you just see the rest of the room in the blacks of the picture.
Maybe that's kind of sort of what goes on with the because there's certain things you watch. First of all, no matter how dark or light on, a football game looks glorious on the TV that we have upstairs. But when I watch, like for instance, I hate the lighting sometimes that they use in any of the Game of Thrones / Hot D universe.
Stop saying Hot D. I'm not on board with Hot D.
Don't care. It's happening. Whether you like it to or not. I have to turn all the lights off to watch that show anytime they're indoors, which, to be fair, the lighting wouldn't be good in that situation, right? Because they're using candles or torches or whatever, right? Like, so I get.
Yeah, but I'm watching TV.
Yeah. Well, they could light it in a way that doesn't feel unnatural. Like, there is a way to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not even like I don't begrudge them when they're doing a scene where they're like walking through a dungeon and it's like by torchlight. It's like, okay, fair enough. But when you're sitting in like, say, the small council room.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be like you're on a sunny day. It could just be lit.
I'm with you.
Normally with like soft ambient light, right?
Yeah. And like I have two really great TVs that have a really great picture, contrast ratio, brightness, and they don't know what to do with Game of Thrones. And it is Game of Thrones. It's not everything. It's Game of Thrones.
No. I know, like after that episode The Long Night, like they tried to tell us that we did it wrong. It's no.
False. Absolutely not. Everything else looks fantastic. Your show is not there. Yeah. I don't understand.
So anyway, regardless, like that's a small struggle, but I still enjoy that TV. It's still a great TV. I still enjoy watching so much stuff on it. But yeah, there's certain things where I'm like, okay, I have to watch this at night. I have to turn the lights off. Yeah.
Especially games for sure. I find that it's much nicer for me if the room is darker. But the weird thing is, I don't like being in a dark room. So if it's a movie, I'm okay with it because I'm kind of getting cozy watching the movie, enjoy that. But when I'm playing a game, I kind of like want to feel awake and not like chilled out like that.
Well, that's why I can't play video games on a couch. I have to be for a long time. Like when I first had when I was in high school and I had like the Xbox 360, I had a mounted TV up in the corner of the room, and I would actually stand up and play video games because the angle felt so unnatural. Like if I sat on my bed or on a chair, I was like looking up to play. But if I stood up, like I wasn't like standing like directly in front of it, like 6 inches away. Like I was standing like 8 feet away, but I would literally play standing up because the TV would then be right at eye level with me.
Yeah.
It was super awkward. I'm sure anyone who like just walked into that would be like, what the fuck are you doing? But like, if you actually tried playing it, you'd be like, okay, this isn't really comfortable to play any other way. Same thing. When I have the Xbox One in the basement here with the projector, which before I had the 4K box with the 4K TV, that, you can't get better than having a 120-inch diameter screen or whatever, right? But sitting on the couch, I get too comfortable sitting back. So I actually would grab a computer chair and put it like 2 feet in front of the couch. I'm still like 10 plus feet away from the screen.
Sure.
But I would sit in the computer chair, which would have me with better posture.
Yeah.
And also I I could lean back on the thing or whatever, like swivel around. If this feels slightly off, I could move a couple inches left, right, forward, back, whatever I needed to do. And now I play, even though I'm slightly catty cornered towards my TV, playing on my bed. Again, it's right at my eye level. I sit a few feet away on the bed. It's not great for my posture because I don't have a back sitting that way, but I don't feel comfortable playing laying down.
Yeah, my friend used to play laying down. I didn't understand how he did it. Like it would drive me crazy. I'm with you. Like I sit on the edge of the couch upright, and I keep good posture while I'm playing, just because I feel like I need to be engaged to play well, and I also enjoy it more that way. If I lay back, if I'm sitting back, I just want to watch a movie. Like I don't want to be doing something else. I just want to be, man. In my next home, I'm gonna have like a nice movie viewing setup. It's gonna happen.
Well, your setup upstairs is nice. It's not great for the ambient lights because you have the big window, and then you have the big open space. So it's not great for audio.
And you also have to keep everything kind of low because when you're all gonna watch something, the baby's asleep.
Yeah, well, that's now, but I mean, even prior to LEO,
Well, that and I actually don't have a great sound setup in that room. I just have a sound bar in there, and it has gotten significantly worse over time.
Well, and also like a sound bar works for a small room, but because you have a raised ranch, it doesn't work with that huge cavernous opening behind the main sitting area. Even I'm sure the sound bar would be fine in a different room.
That means like everything. Audio, visual, lighting, everything is better in the downstairs room, but it's too far away from the TV. In the upstairs room, everything else is terrible, but you're sitting where you should be sitting.
Yeah, I found that when we've tried to play stuff like in your basement, and like I literally grab a chair and sit 5 feet in front of the couch.
Yeah. And I'm a mile behind you.
Yeah. So for the time we played the Order Up game, we both sat together up in front of the TV.
What was that game called?
Was that Order Up? Wasn't that what it was called?
Overcooked.
Or Overcooked? Whatever.
That game was fun. I like that. That's a silly game.
It was fun. It was definitely it would be like a solid party game too.
Yeah. Let's get into some news and nuggets.
Did you mark the beer?
No, absolutely not. I'm not even.
Did you mark the aimless rambling? That was a long ramble. We haven't done it.
I did mark the aimless rambling. No, I marked that we were starting news and nuggets, but I'm also pretty sure that I undershot it by a few seconds, so that'll be fun. Sir Big Spur, what does that mean? Sometimes you just say words and I write them down.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a good one. Okay. So this story I actually have is several weeks old, so I may have to do some freelancing to get a better update. So this is courtesy of the state. Well, because we've had to wave off of recording for the last several weeks. So This is via the state. Oh God, an ad popped up. South Carolina's live rooster mascot is getting a new name. What should it be? Now, I don't know how much you know about college football.
It's just that there's shenanigans.
Oh, so many. So anyway, the University of South Carolina, for anyone who doesn't know, is one of those colleges that not only has an actual mascot, with like a person inside of a costume or whatever doing their thing, but they also keep a live mascot. So you have probably the most famous one is Uga, the bulldog that they have at the University of Georgia. They're the Bulldogs. They have a little bulldog that they keep on the sideline. They do pep rally stuff with it, whatever.
Who takes care of the bulldog?
Well, we're going to find out that general situation with these colleges more in this story.
Okay.
But it's usually some family that went to school there, maybe doesn't actually work there, but is affiliated, gets paid a stipend or whatever because they show up on game day with the dog and to other events, whatever.
When that animal dies, do they need to go into witness protection?
We're currently on UGA 12, so it's no. I mean realistically, how long does a bulldog live? Right?
UGA the 15th.
Yeah, no, that's a real thing. There's Texas or the Longhorns. They have their huge Longhorn cow. Bull, I guess probably.
Sure.
Regardless, and there's pretty sure that Clemson or LSU or maybe both have a tiger occasionally. I don't think that's a permanent fixture. I think that's just
On the field?
yeah, in a cage.
Goodness
or
gracious.
whatever. But yeah. And there are other ones. So South Carolina sports teams are the Gamecocks.
Okay.
And so their logo looks like a regal bird that's probably a male bird. It's a cock, right? So they also have a live rooster that they bring on the field, and his name for quite some time has been Sir Big Spur.
See, now this was a missed opportunity for Hot D.
Hang on. It's going to get so much better. South Carolina's live rooster mascot is about to debut a name change. A new alias for the mascot, formerly known as Sir Big Spur, will be announced sometime between now and when the Gamecocks kick off the season September 3rd against Georgia State. The university confirmed to the state. Why a name change? It boils down to a disagreement between the bird's original owners, Mary Snelling and Ron Albertali, and the new owners, Beth and Van Clark, over whether or not the animal's comb on its head should be trimmed. According to a report from the Charleston Post and Courier, the original owners trimmed the rooster's comb, the red fleshy area that's on top of its head, to make the bird look more like a fighting gamecock, which is the logo, the mascot. Gotcha. The Clarks have opted to keep the comb intact, citing the health benefits to the bird. This is a parenthetical. In learning about this story, I read into it. Apparently, that is used for heat regulation. It's basically how they sweat, which in South Carolina, super fucking hot, especially on the field. It gets baking hot on a football field during a summer day. So the new family wanted to keep that because they thought it was healthier for the bird. An agreement with the original owners allowing the use of the Sir Big Spur name has expired. The University of South Carolina has got in the process to select a new name. The Clarks, for now, have changed the Twitter handle of the rooster simply to, quote, mascot, just generically. The new name won't be Big Spur, which was the name used for USC's costume mascot in the pre-1980s and before the creation of Cocky, which is their actual mascot. The university's legal team advised against using an old name, Big Spur, which was suggested by many fans due to its close relationship to Sir Big Spur, which is not owned by the university. It's owned by that original family. So what should the new name for the live mascot be? You pick 10 names, vote below for your favorite. And so I'm going to read you the names that they put up on the poll. We have some very clever ones, some not so clever ones. I'm going to read them in no particular order, except for, well, you'll figure it out. So one of my personal favorites was Cluck Norris.
Sure.
I also very much enjoyed Marco Pollo. We also have Brewster, Captain Cluck, Kickin' Chicken, Mr. Chicken Scratch, Cockadoodle Dude, or Coop. We also have the General. And the one that won the poll in a landslide, Cock Commander.
Sometimes the long story is worth it. That was one of those times.
Now, we've already established that they are the Gamecocks, that their mascot is named Cocky. And one of the big chants that they do is Go Cocks. But apparently Cock Commander was a bridge too far, because after this poll went out and all of this debate had been flourishing, the school announced that the bird from now on will be known as the General, which is the boringest name.
Sack up.
And the internet, of course, did not take kindly to this.
Sure.
And mutinied and said, you can call it whatever the fuck you want. We're calling it Cock Commander from now on.
Yeah.
So eventually, the school was able to broker a deal with the two families and get back the rights to the name Sir Big Spur. I'm sure because while the school decided we can't call the thing Cock Commander, the only thing that the fans will probably accept now in lieu of Cock Commander is the original name, which they had all enjoyed prior to then. Now, Cock Commander will live on forever.
I was going to say false. That bird is Cock Commander.
It's going to be known probably more or less forever as Cock Commander. That will dwindle some. But for the next few years, it's going to be Cock Commander in general conversation.
Oh, man. That's
as
good.
That's a good one, right? That is one of my fantasy team's names, is the Cock Commanders.
Nice.
And the team logo is, the actual Sir Big Spur himself. So, yeah. I'm glad I could bring you some joy with that.
Nice. Well done.
Fantastic story.
I like that one. That was good. All right, now I'm excited for the rest. What is LS Dunes?
So this is kind of cool. This also is from a few weeks ago. Fuck off. New emo and punk supergroup LS Dunes drop explosive debut single. Featuring members of My Chemical Romance, Coheed and Cambria, Circa Survive, and more. Listen to new supergroup LS Dunes' killer first single, Permanent Rebellion. So, Frank Yarrow has been doing some teasing for a little while now, and finally his new band LS Dunes are here, and they unsurprisingly absolutely rule. Completed by Coheed and Cambria's Travis Stever, who is their lead guitarist, Circa Survive's Anthony Green, Thursday's Tim Payne, and Thursday/Yellow Card's Tucker Rule, the punk and emo supergroup have announced that their debut album Past Lives will arrive on November 11th via Fantasy Records. Before that, though, they've got a killer lead single called Permanent Rebellion to enjoy, which is out now with an accompanying video. Says Frank of the track, "We never knew if we could ever get to play these songs together. In fact, none of us lifelong musicians really knew if we'd ever be able to play music for a live audience ever again. Permanent Rebellion is about taking back what is rightfully yours."
Cool. Where's this story from?
This was on Kerrang.
Oh, nice. That's cool. I like when the stuff that I like comes back. I feel like that's what this will feel like.
Yeah. So I did listen to the song a few weeks ago when this came out. I would say I think the sound is really cool. I didn't totally love the vocalization for that first song. Some of it was cool, but some of it was a little too screamy for me.
What does LS Dunes mean?
I have no idea.
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. LS Dunes meaning.
I figured it was
I'll check this out.
I figured it was some sort of LSD play on words, but I'm not 100% sure.
When you gave me just the random tag for the opening of the show, I assumed this was like Dune related. Not.
I can understand why you think that.
Oh man. Speaking of which, I was in a Barnes & Noble the other day, and there was like anywhere from like 4 to 10 Dune games, like tabletop games.
Oh, yeah.
That seemed pretty involved, and I thought one of these days, you and I should get our hands on one of these.
That'd be kind of cool. I did see a few weeks ago that there's a Dune MMO coming out. So that's a thing.
What's that one called? That cinematic looked ridiculous.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't remember what it's called.
There's also that, is it Awakening? Yeah, Dune Awakening. There's also that Dune Spice Wars game that is like I think it's like an RTS type gem. Okay. Oh, this Dune Resurgence is pretty cool.
Yes.
Sweet. I lost all of my notes. There they are. Miguel Sapochnik, maybe, exits Hot D.
House of Dragon shakeup. Co-showrunner Miguel Sapochnik leaving hit series. Exclusive. This is on The Hollywood Reporter. This is from August 31st. Emmy-winning Game of Thrones veteran Alan Taylor will join the team for Season 2. There's been a big shakeup inside of House of the Dragon. The HBO fantasy drama's co-showrunner and director Miguel Sapochnik is stepping down from the freshly launched hit series. Sources say he's exiting the show after pouring an exhausting 3 years of effort into the Game of Thrones prequel. Dragon co-creator Ryan Condal will now serve as the show's sole showrunner.
I sure hope that's what it says on his business card. Dragon co-creator.
He will continue to work closely with co-creator George R. R. Martin. Sapochnik has also entered into a first-look deal with HBO to develop new projects and will remain as an executive producer for the duration of this series.
Interesting to leave after all of that work going into the first season.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was, I think, hired as the steady hand of, he directed some of the best episodes of Game of Thrones.
Hmm.
Condal obviously had wrote and directed a bunch of Game of Thrones as well. It's funny, I viewed it as I thought the show was going to be run by the two of them, but if you look at the beginning of the episodes, it says like show like created by Brian Condal and George R. R. Martin. Obviously, Spotchnik directed a bunch of these episodes, and I'm sure had a heavy influence in the writing and production of it. But I mean, staying on as an executive producer, whatever. I'm sure he'll be someone they bounce ideas off of and stuff like that, and I'm sure he'll step in and hang out and do some fun stuff once in a while. But it sounds like he's not going to be expected to be there for the day to day anymore. I think his job was to make sure they got off on the right foot, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, well, that seems fine. It almost seems like maybe he didn't really want to.
Yeah,
he has other passions, and like he's just good at it, so they tried to lock him in as long as they could.
Well, I do wonder if this was a planned exit. Like, hey, let's crush this first season, and then if you don't want to stick around, feel free to leave.
Yeah, that could be okay. That's interesting.
The production has hired another acclaimed Thrones director, Alan Taylor, to serve as an executive producer and to direct multiple episodes in season 2. Quote, working within the Thrones universe for the past few years has been an honor and a privilege, especially spending the last 2 with the amazing cast and crew of House of the Dragons, Spotchnik said in a statement. I am so proud of what we accomplished with season 1 and overjoyed by the enthusiastic reaction of our viewers. It's incredibly tough to decide to move on, but I know that it is the right choice for me, personally and professionally. As I do so, though, I am deeply comforted to know that Alan will be joining the series. He's someone I've known and respected for a long time, and I believe this precious series could not be in safer hands. I'm so glad to remain a part of the HBO and House of the Dragon family, and of course I wish Ryan and his team success and all the best with season 2 and beyond. Said Taylor, it's a pleasure and honor to be back at HBO, immersing myself in the world of the Targaryens. I look forward to working closely with Ryan as House of the Dragon grows into its second season. Ryan, Miguel, and George have launched an extraordinary story in a rich and fascinating world. Returning to Westeros will be a huge undertaking, and I'm looking forward to the challenge.
More on... I don't want to jump the gun on House of the Dragon, so more on that in consumption. But I do want to pick your brain a little bit about that show.
Yeah, so I have some other notes here. The series premiere delivered 25 million viewers in its first week, and it scored a quick renewal for season 2. Sunday, at this time, the second episode made the rare move of gaining slightly more viewers instead of declining. Spotchnik directed episode 6 and 7 of this.
Wait. Hang on. Hold the phone. The view count is for the air date?
No, so they announced, I want to say, was it 12 million on the premiere night? They said in the first week it was 25 million.
Okay.
Between air of the first episode prior to air of second episode.
Okay. And then the second episode was more?
Yes.
Doesn't that imply, I guess leading into...
Sorry.
I guess that implies some people started after the second episode aired.
Okay, so let's...
Because in my mind, I'm hearing people watch the second one without watching the first, but that's not what happened. Based on when they tallied them, the second one was already out, and they started the series with 2 episodes to watch instead of 1.
So... hang on a second. Go down a rabbit hole here. So the premiere... it was a hair under 10 million on the night of the release across all platforms. And then, damn it. Episode 2 had over 10, like 10 and a quarter million.
Wow.
It's a 2% increase from the premiere, which came in just under 10 million. The show had over 25 million across all platforms in the week since it premiered. Over the length of their runs, the final 3 seasons of Game of Thrones averaged 25.7 million, 32.8 million, 44.2 million per HBO.
Damn. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's insane.
This is obviously dated a couple of weeks ago, but it's been a pretty smashing success so far.
It's pretty incredible that the final 3 seasons were at that range, especially considering the number of people I know that were hate watching it.
Well, but that was the point, though. Is it reached its absolute fever pitch in by season 4, and that momentum carried itself through season 5 and into season 6. There wasn't really a ton of people complaining about seasons 5 or 6 in real time. It kind of became a thing.
It was more of
as season 7 and 8 were coming on. Hey, this has been going downhill a bit, but it had reached such a critical mass of other people who had just been joining the show at that point. And I think those shows, I think,
myself included, I think we started around 4, maybe.
Okay. I watched the first season a month before the second season came out, and then I watched it concurrently from season 2 on.
Gotcha.
But I do think all of these shows, I binged, my most notorious binge of a show was Dexter. I watched 7.5 seasons in a 2-week stretch.
And you still haven't finished it.
The New Blood, no. But I watched half or almost half of season 8 concurrently with its airing. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't really have a lot of complaints about those later seasons until much later on when I revisited them. I think when you compress that volume of content, I don't know how much because you're so in it and you're just enjoying so much, I think you look past it. Whereas when you watch a show across the years concurrently live and you have time to chew and digest on it, I think that's when you will realize the slip in quality more than someone who binges it.
Oh, yeah.
People who picked up the show late in its life, leading into the last season or 2, those people probably in real time weren't quite like how we were watching it because we were watching it live and having the joy of the earlier seasons firmly in our rearview mirror at that point.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. TV is weird.
Yeah.
Really weird.
My last little bit of notes here is on Alan Taylor, the guy who's replacing Sapochnik. He built his reputation for his work on HBO's The Sopranos, for which he won an Emmy, and Rome, and AMC's Mad Men. On Thrones, he was instrumental in helping shape the show's directorial style, helming the pivotal and stylish final 2 episodes of the show's debut season, which included sequences depicting the death of Ned Stark and the birth of Daenerys' dragons. Taylor eventually directed a total of 7 Thrones episodes, including The North Remembers, The Nightlands, and Beyond the Wall. Showrunners David Benioff and Dan Weiss once described his style as, quote, cinematic and precise. He also recently helmed The Sopranos prequel movie, The Many Saints of Newark, and the pilot for AMC's Interview with the Vampire series, which debuts October 2nd.
Did you watch The Many Saints of Newark?
Yes.
Any good? I don't remember if we talked about it. It was fine?
We did. It was fine.
Yeah.
I definitely liked some of it. It didn't quite live up to what I would have liked of it, but it was enjoyable.
No. Interesting. I feel like in that case, I might not bother. Because I didn't care for, as you know, The Sopranos. So I feel like I'm not really going to get much out of this.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it had some cool things that prequels can do. It answered some major questions. It also had some cool, I don't say fan service exactly, but some of like Tony's friends in the show, you kind of knew those guys were older than him in real life and older than him in the show, and they kind of alluded to the fact that they were more his father's friends, and so you got to see
he inherited them.
Yeah, and really more so than his father, it was his uncle's friends or uncle, cousin, whatever it is. I always forget the exact details of whatever. But the point of Michael Imperioli's character's Chris, it's Chris's father's friend, basically.
Yeah.
And the guy who played, all of them were cast really well, but the guy who played Silvio, his impression of, what's his name, playing Silvio Dante, what the hell is his name from Bruce Springsteen? His impression,
little something. Steven?
Well, Steven, yes.
That's it.
And I'm totally blanking on his last name. But his impression of him playing that character is actually almost worth watching on it.
Oh, that's kind of fun. I do appreciate that type of thing in a prequel. If somebody could really do a character justice, that's funny. Cool. D23 Expo happened. I was very disconnected from this, so I would rely heavily on you for any announcements.
Well, it's going on like Friday and Saturday, and I just flat out did not have the time to do it or like, engage with it in that time. So I read through a story on Vulture before we recorded, which just had like a very brief breakdown of all the things, including whatever trailers or teasers came out alongside of it. So I'm just going to scroll through these things with the little blurbs that come along with it, because most of them are like a sentence or two long.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just go everything that was announced in D23's Expo. So from Walt Disney Studios, we have Hocus Pocus 2, which had another trailer.
So excited.
We obviously talked about that a bunch. We've seen a trailer. I haven't seen any of the successive trailers, but still, that was a thing. This was a trailer I did see. There's Disenchanted. Did you ever see Enchanted?
I have not. Any good?
It's fun. My mom and my sister really like it. So I saw this like when I was scrolling through Twitter when I woke up Saturday morning, and I watched the trailer, sent to my mom and my sister just to let them know that this was out. I didn't even realize D23 was going on at that point. I just saw this trailer online. So it's a sequel to that movie from 2007. It looks like it's going to kind of flip the whole premise on its head, and already the whole thing was like there was Amy Adams plays like a character who lives in literally a fairy tale world. She comes through some sort of magical portal and lives in real life, and then other people that she knew from back then also started coming through the portal and start infecting the real world to whatever extent. It's an interesting cast. It's her, Patrick Dempsey, James Marsden, who's totally ridiculous in this. He plays like a over-exaggerated version of one of those fairy tale knights.
Sure.
A whole slew of other people you would recognize. I don't remember. It's been over a decade since I've seen that movie, but yeah, they're doing a sequel to that, which I could not possibly fathom, but good for them. I hope people enjoy it. We have Peter and Wendy. I guess this is some sort of prequel to Peter Pan.
Weird.
No trailer or official release date over here, but the studio did announce some more info about the upcoming Peter and Wendy film, another live-action adaptation of a Disney classic. We already knew some casting, notably Yara Shahidi as Tinkerbell and Jude Law as Captain Hook, but this panel did give some good info about the upcoming 2023 release. We worked really hard on the Hook. There were many different versions of the Hook until the Ironmonger got it just right, said Law. Haunted Mansion, because apparently they're doing another Haunted Mansion thing.
Again, huh?
Yeah. Director Justin Simeon. Jamie Lee Curtis is Madame Leota. I never really got the deal with Haunted Mansion. Are you following the story along?
I can't. I don't have the specific thing that you're on, so I'm scrolling through D23.com and I saw a National Treasure thing.
Oh, okay. So hang on 1 second.
I'll hold.
Because I'm going to send you the link so that you can follow along with me.
Oh, perfect. That would be good. Vulture.
I should have thought to do that.
This is what's up. It would be great is if the link opened when you clicked it. But alas, Skype is shit.
Well, I usually don't bother because whenever I try and open it, it opens it in Microsoft Edge, and fuck that. So I usually
oh my god, it is
that you send me and drop it into terrible. Chrome. So
yeah, that's got it.
Mufasa,
I got it.
The Lion King, 2020.
Listen, I want to point something out. Hang on, technology ran for a second. I clicked the link that popped up on the screen when you sent it in Skype, and nothing happened. Right? Then I opened the chat and I clicked the link and it opened in my default browser, which makes sense because I have something else set for Zencaster because it works better. I had to do those two steps. Wasn't happy with either result. I copied the link. I dragged my mouse from my Mac to my iPad, pasted in the browser of my iPad, which is a completely different device, and it worked flawlessly. Come on, Skype. Let me click the link. Go on.
Get ready to head back to Pride Rock. Moonlight's Barry Jenkins is directing a Lion King prequel that won't come out until 2024.
That's okay.
We don't know much, but we do know it will tell the story of Simba's father, Mufasa, with Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner returning as Pumbaa and Timon.
No, that's a win.
Snow White, starring Rachel Ziegler and Gal Gadot, releasing in 2024.
I did not know this was a thing.
Neither did I. Another tease for a movie that won't be released until 2024. D23 apparently shows an exclusive preview of the film to attendees, which is not online in any legal capacity. While some fans got angry that Snow White...
I love that phrasing. Oh, okay, so I can get it, is what you're saying. Thanks.
Yeah, but they're not allowed to say that because Disney is litigious.
Sure.
While some fans, in quotations, got angry that Snow White, played by West Side Story's Rachel Ziegler, is Latina, that appears to be by design. There's such an emphasis on what is meant to be the fairest of them all, Ziegler noted. The Little Mermaid.
Sure.
On the topic of racist people. Closer in the live-action Disney princess pipeline is the trailer for...
On the topic of racist...
Closer in the live-action Disney princess pipeline is the trailer for The Little Mermaid, starring Halle Bailey, which will never not be confusing to me.
No,
because my brain wants to say...
I definitely just went, wait, what did you say? That's not who I saw playing the character, and then I was like, oh, that's a different name entirely.
Every single time I see it, I'm like, it's not Halle Berry, it's not Halle Berry, it's not Halle Berry, and my brain still wants me to...
Doing you... Son?
Halle Bailey is the titular Ariel. The trailer features just a sample of Bailey singing, so enough to make us want a lot more before it swims to theaters May 26th. Of course, this one, since it was first announced and since she was first cast, has been noteworthy for the just hellacious amount of vitriol about casting a black actress to play a half-woman, half-fish, which apparently is much more realistic than having a black person as your...
Well, everybody knows that half-woman, half-fish are white, Hal.
Of course.
God.
You know what? Credit to the ultra bought-in people to that whole phenomenon. I saw a reference the other day, which, truly fascinating to me, the commitment to the bit. Apparently some people have tried to argue that, well, she lives under the sea, she can't have pigmentation in her skin because she doesn't get any sun.
You know what they could have done? Top half fish.
To the bit. What's that?
They should have just done top half fish.
That was definitely a Family Guy joke where
there's a running episode in How I Met Your Mother. I think it extends a little bit beyond of whether you would rather be with a mermaid who's top half fish or bottom half fish.
Yeah, they did one where it was like a guy with you could see his legs, he's like strong legs or whatever, and then he gets out and he's like just a fish up front, up top, but anthropomorphic and can talk. And it's what's the matter?
You know what? I want to backtrack for a second to Snow White. Just don't do Snow White because it's not good.
They keep doing it over and over again. It's a pretty problematic.
Just let it die. Let's move on. Yeah, there's a lot.
Let the past die and kill it if you have to.
That's right. But don't come back with a sequel that undoes it.
I gotta say, I appreciated Nick Frost playing a dwarf in that Snow White with Chris Hemsworth and...
Did I see that?
Twilight.
The Huntsman? Something about a huntsman?
Snow White.
I might have seen that.
My sister watched it because she was of that age at that time, and I definitely caught parts of it. I was like, hey, look, that's Nick Frost. That's cool. Also Bob Hoskins, I want to say.
Huh.
It was one of Bob Hoskins' last roles.
Moving
on. Pixar. We have Elemental, which is... Pixar may not have released any trailers at this year's D23, but that doesn't mean the studio was slacking. First up is Elemental, a film about residents of different elements who come together, which premiere in theaters June 16th.
Just be under this, it should be, instead of saying Pixar being the capturing title of what the next few announcements are going to be, it should just be movies that are probably going to make you cry.
We have Win or Lose, which stars Will Forte as a coach. This will be Pixar's first TV series.
Oh, wow.
On Disney Plus in 2023. Up next, we have Elio.
Son of a bitch. Listen, my son had this name before it was cool.
Looks like Pixar will never beat the Call Me By Your Name allegations. Following its Italian film Luca is the upcoming space adventure flick Elio, which will premiere in spring of 2024.
Amazing.
A boy finds himself transported across the galaxy and mistaken for the intergalactic ambassador of our planet Earth.
Cool.
Inside Out 2.
Yes,
the topic of
that's so exciting.
Cry.
Yeah, Inside Out was amazing.
Amy Poehler is back to star in Inside Out 2, directed by Kelsey Mann, produced by Mark Nielsen, and written by Meg Lefbauve. Inside Out 2 releases summer 2024.
What was that elephant's name?
I saw part of this movie once.
Oh, man.
Amy Poehler will be returning as Joy. Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader will reportedly not be returning in their roles as Disgust and Fear. The upcoming film will come out in summer 2024. Walt Disney's animation.
Oh, I don't like anything about what they're saying in this tweet. I'm okay with how it's taking place. I'm just livid with the term midquel.
Oof. Zootopia Plus. The show is not a sequel series. It's actually a midquel series. It's focused on different characters during the timeline of the film.
No. Again, okay with the movie or the show existing. Just don't say midquel.
The series will be made up of I think the term interstitial would probably be correct.
That'd be fun.
The series will be made up of 6 episodes with 6 independent stories, including one titled "The Real Rodents of Rodentia."
I just think it's funny that they had to explain that it takes place during, just leave the midquel part out. Because you're going to say anyway that it takes place during the time frame of the first movie. Anyway.
Iwaju. Journey into a futuristic version of Lagos, Nigeria, with its first look of Disney Animation and Kugali's Iwaju. It's a series soon to come to your Disney Plus account. An Afrofuturist-inspired animated series set in Lagos, Nigeria, will be made in collaboration with the African entertainment company Kugali, marking it as Disney's first collaboration with an independent studio in 100 years. Strange World. Jake Gyllenhaal stars the upcoming Pixar film coming to theaters close to Thanksgiving on November 23rd. Weirdly phrased. Although we don't have any new trailer open to the public, a teaser trailer was released earlier this year if you can't wait to take a look.
That's really soon for something I've never heard of.
Yeah, right. Wish. Starring Ariana DeBose as Asha, directed by Chris Buck and Fawn Vera Sunthorn. Produced by Peter Del Vecchio and Juan Pablo Reyes, and featuring all new songs by Julia Michaels. It premieres in November 2023.
I love a good Disney musical.
It tells the story of the star from the Disney logo.
What? That's cool. I dig that.
It will feature songs written by Julia Michaels, who has written for artists such as Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber. We're on to the Lucasfilm portion. We have Andor, which will be coming out next week, September 21st.
Damn, that's so soon.
The final trailer was released. I have not seen it yet, although I think I saw a snippet of it on TV the other day.
It's good.
Okay.
It's good.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the show, so.
Mm-hmm.
We have Willow.
It's one of the ones where after the first trailer, I was like, I don't need anything else. Let me know when the date arrives.
Well, that's kind of how I felt, too.
Yeah.
We have Willow, because no good IP goes unrevived in the world of Disney. Lucasfilm is making a sequel series to the George Lucas-produced 1988 high fantasy film Willow. Will begin streaming on Disney Plus on November 30th.
I feel like I've definitely seen Willow.
I didn't.
I just don't remember at all what it's about.
Warwick Davis is coming back to play the title role, so that's cool. He was super young when that first...
I was going to say, in my mind, he looks exactly the same.
But I think he was like 16 or something like that when the first
probably. It's just that I feel like I've seen him a lot recently, like as in cameos of things or like popping up on interviews and stuff, so I'm just remembering that.
Yeah. The Bad Batch, Season 2. They revealed the series will be returning with a 16-episode season on January 4th.
I forget, where did you land on that one? Was that a worthwhile endeavor?
I liked what I saw, but I think I only made it through about halfway through the first season. That's one I gotta finish up eventually.
This next one looks pretty cool.
Star Wars Tales of the Jedi, I agree. It will include 6 standalone Parable episodes following Ahsoka and Count Dooku in equal measure and will debut on October 26th. I did not see the trailer. I did see some of the stills from it. I know that Mace Windu and Yoda will also feature pretty heavily in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Qui-Gon as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think this is during the time which Qui-Gon was apprenticed to Count Dooku.
That's right. That's the part of the trailer that I vaguely remember.
Yeah. We have Ahsoka.
Woohoo!
Independently from Tales of the Jedi, Ahsoka will be receiving her own standalone live-action series starring Rosario Dawson, fittingly titled Ahsoka. The series has no official release date, but will premiere on Disney Plus sometime in 2023.
Now, question. Is it going to be Ahsoka, or is it going to be like Mandalorian Season 4?
I would not rule out The Mandalorian in some way, shape, or form impacting that, or maybe some of the other shows impacting it. But that will be one of the first shows to really push the Jedi storyline in a different direction in that time period between episodes 6 and 7, because obviously we know Ahsoka will be hunting to try to find Grand Admiral Thrawn and Ezra Bridger. And Ezra Bridger had been cast. I forget who it was, but we talked about that a couple weeks ago, I feel like.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I'm excited for that.
Yes. So am I.
Oh, man. Now it's like... It took me so long to get through it, but Rebels was so good.
So you finally finished Rebels, so you can finally appreciate now the impact of talking about, well, what happened at the end of that, and why are we looking for Ezra, right? Like, that was quite an affecting series finale. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which I know we talked about at Star Wars Day when they... Or not Star Wars Day, what's the other one that they do? That they did in May?
Star Wars Celebration?
Star Wars Celebration, that's the one. I was confused those two things because they're within a couple of weeks of each other.
Yeah.
So Jude Law...
Just tighten that up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why they don't just do it that weekend. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No.
But whatever. To each their own. Jude Law obviously leads in that. It's him taking in a bunch of rogue kids and going across the galaxy doing stuff, so why not?
Sure.
The main event to this section, Mandalorian Season 3, which released a fucking trailer.
That trailer was so good. I was just like, I'm so... I feel like every 2 seconds of the trailer, I'm so hyped!
I know what your favorite part was. It was seeing Old Man Grief Karga.
Yeah, sure.
Mando.
Oh man, that was... I'm here for it. I love The Mandalorian.
We saw so many Mandalorian / Death Watch. Excited to see how that whole thing goes out. We're already setting the table for the fact that Bo-Katan and I totally just drew a blank on what Mando's name is. Din Djarin. The two of them are clearly going to come to odds. We've already set the table for that in this trailer, along with so much more. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, that was great. The intercuts with
Babu
the
Frick.
story so far. Well, Babu Frick, of course. The droid is ready. Oh man,
Babu Frick.
I'm Babu Frick. I love it. Love it. Honestly, I wouldn't change Episode 9 because that runs the risk of potentially not having that character, and it was so good. I'm pretty sure I spit some of my drink out the first time that character was on screen.
You were very taken with Babu Frick, and we all love Babu Frick, but I was surprised by how
I could do a Babu Frick tattoo. just a little Babu Frick on my calf.
Okay, I'm not going to stop you. The only way you can do it is if you actually get it with a text bubble that says "I am Babu Frick."
I am, yeah, definitely. Oh man,
it's almost like Pokemon, where they say their own name.
Yes. Yes. Oh man, what a character!
Indiana Jones 5.
Cool teaser.
I didn't see. Was there a new teaser?
I don't think it's new. I think it's the existing teaser.
Well, it seemed like that still of him walking across the rope bridge.
Oh no, it's like he's done this, he's done that. Actually, they were like, the first one was about the Ark. The second one was about the cradle of civilization. The third one was about defeating evil with the Nazis. Did no mention of the fourth movie, and it's like, and now, and like he's like, I'm pretty sure he gets like punched in the face or whatever. He's not on screen. Like it's like the way the camera is, it's like below, like by his ankles, and he picks up his hat, and his silhouette puts the hat on, and that's it. And it's a pretty cool tease for it.
Okay, that's cool. I can dig it. Yeah, I mean, my final resounding thoughts. I actually watched the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull recently-ish, a couple months ago.
A good chunk to watch that.
I think I caught like 75% of it. I don't know. It's not like it's a terrible movie. It just kind of misses the mark.
Sure.
And I appreciate that they took a swing and tried to do something sort of entirely different, but within like the keeping of it. It was just a bridge too far. I think they needed to be more grounded in, obviously not realism, but in history, like the historical fantasy stuff. Yeah. Obviously, like they tried to do something different by going to South America instead of like the Middle East or India or the Middle East. But that's fine. But the whole interdimensional beings alien thing, it just became a bit too far. The other stuff was grounded in enough like history that like even the most average knower of history could get on board with those storylines.
Well, yeah, because you know what it is. I think especially when you consider like I feel like the Last Crusade is the one that pushes it a little bit further out, where it's like, okay, we are taking on some of the. I mean, I guess the first one too, the arc, but like these things can coexist in the same universe, and having the alien aspect breaks that for sure. And the reason being, like, if you think about, like, Marvel, for example, like, they managed to pull it off with their explanations of realms and things like that. And, like, that all helps and works together to make all of these different things able to come together. But they should have stuck with that specific lane, I think.
Yeah.
In the Indiana Jones series.
There was clearly a disconnect in delivering. Obviously, this sort of movie is always going to be somewhat exposition heavy, and it's how you deploy it and when. But I feel super comfortable with the stories of the first three, including I know very little of Indian history or religion, and yet I still feel very comfortable and grounded in what that movie is about. And I know just as little about all of the like pre-colonial history of South America. I have no idea what that movie is about, honestly. I've seen it a bunch of times across the 15 years since it came out or whatever, and I'm still, the middle of that movie is just mush to me. Like, they go to South America and they look for the big, like, crop circle-y things, and then they're looking for Akator, and there's a head of an alien. The whole middle act of the movie is just mashed potatoes.
Yeah. I get you. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen it since it released, so I would have to rewatch it. But okay. I do remember. I remember enjoying it just fine. Didn't feel like an Indiana Jones movie though.
Yeah.
Thematically, I mean, they nailed some of the other pieces of it, but I'll rewatch it. I've been meaning to rewatch it because I've kind of been. I know that it's like this spot of like there's just this blind spot because I haven't seen it in so long, and I've seen the other ones like many times since.
Yeah.
So I just never got back to that.
It's funny, growing up, I loved Temple of Doom for some reason, and like growing up and like getting older, like it's now probably pretty firmly in third place for me. I love The Last Crusade.
It is the best. Yeah, I'm absolutely with you. I was a Temple of Doom fan for the longest time. And then, I don't know.
Honestly, it was probably because of Short Round. I think I had a connection because, like, I was a, 6-year-old kid watching a movie that heavily featured, like, a 9-year-old kid or whatever.
Sure.
So, like, I felt like that's probably what it was. I felt like a connection point of, like me and Short Round could be buddies going with Indiana Jones on an adventure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, when you sent me that No Time for Love, Dr. Jones, image the other day. I lost it. That was so good.
Oh, fantastic! So I guess that means he's coming back for this.
I hope so. I sure hope so.
Underneath here, and I'm just giving everyone pre-knowledge. I'm gonna totally butcher. I have no idea how to pronounce that actor's name. There's no telling who looked happier, me watching Indiana Jones 5 co-stars Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge together on stage, or past Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom co-stars Harrison Ford and Ke-Huy Quan smiling wide while reuniting after 38 years. Indiana Jones 5 will open in theaters June 30th. That picture was fantastic. If you haven't seen it, go look it up.
It's so good. If you just want to feel better today, just look up that image.
They both look so happy, and when you consider how often Harrison Ford looks cranky, which is 98% of the time that he's ever not on screen, anytime he's not been acting, if you see any picture of him in real life, he always looks like super cranky, or sounds super cranky, or is super cranky. He looked genuinely happy in this picture, and I know he's an actor, and he's a fantastic actor, and like there's been times where he seems to have joy on screen in movies and shows or whatever, which obviously aren't real because in real life he's a miserable person, it seems. He looked genuinely happy in that picture.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're on to Marvel Studios. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. We saw that trailer already.
That trailer was heavy, man.
It was. I'd love to know a little bit more about what this movie's actually about. I'm sure we'll get another trailer at some point. But this film will be coming out on November 11th.
Damn, that's also so close too.
Yeah. But at least we've got an actual trailer for that.
Yeah.
Ironheart. Ryan Coogler and Anthony Ramos joined Kevin Feige on stage to give fans at D23 Expo an early look at Marvel Studios' Ironheart. So Coogler is involved with this project as well. Riri Williams, the star of the series, will be introduced in Wakanda Forever, and Anthony Ramos will play the Hood alongside Drag Race's Shea Coulee in an unspecified role. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
What is the Hood?
I don't know. It looks like it's a character.
The Hood. Go on.
Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. It hasn't been made public yet. Attendees got a chance to see an exclusive look at the movie. Quantumania will notably introduce, or I guess probably more appropriately reintroduce, Jonathan Majors as the villain Kang, who will feature prominently in the next stage of the MCU, culminating in Avengers: The Kang Dynasty.
Dawn.
Slated for February 17th. We have
I like the Ant-Man movies. They're fun.
Yeah. I was actually watching the beginning of the first Ant-Man the other day. It just happened to come on after something I was watching, and I watched it for like 20 minutes.
Nice.
One trailer that has been made public is the trailer for Werewolf by Night, which I did not see. One of the more unique items on this list, a hyper-stylized Halloween special starring Gael Garcia Bernal. The special will debut on Disney Plus on October 7th.
This is a Marvel thing?
Yes.
Oh. Right.
Secret Invasion. Another trailer I didn't see.
I appreciate that every time you read it with the exclamation at the end.
You gotta give it its proper gravitas.
Yeah.
What may be the highest prestige cast ever for an MCU product, Secret Invasion dropped a trailer as part of D23. Starring Samuel L. Jackson, who is back as Nick Fury for the first time since 2019's Spider-Man Far From Home. Olivia Colman, Don Cheadle, Martin Freeman, Kingsley Ben-Adir, Emilia Clarke, and Kobe Smulders. The series will premiere in early 2023.
I love Martin Freeman. He's just fantastic.
As do I. I was watching The World's End a week or two ago.
Nice.
And my mom was like, "Who is that?" I was like, do the thing where I figure out what she's actually known for. I was like, I know you have no regard for anything Lord of the Rings. I said, but he played the young Bilbo in the Hobbit movies. She goes, that seems familiar. And I pulled up a picture of him and she goes, oh yeah, okay.
Emilia Clarke was in Eternals, right?
No.
Wasn't she in something already?
Kit Harington was in Eternals.
Is that what I'm thinking of?
So was what's his name? the other one, his half brother, no cousin, I guess technically.
Oh right.
Totally drawing a blank on his name in real life. The guy who played Rob Stark,
Yeah.
whose name is totally escaping me at the moment.
Man, she.
I didn't have my energy drink before we started recording. Okay, bear with me.
Why do I feel like she was already in the MCU?
No, she was cast quite some time ago, and it became like it was like a huge deal that she was cast. Richard Madden was his name.
Ah. Right.
Anyway, this will be the thing that Amelia Clark's in.
Got it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. I don't care if she was in something else. Armor Wars. Don Cheadle will return in Marvel Studios. Armor Wars coming to Disney Plus. If Secret Invasion doesn't have enough Don Cheadle as James Rhodes for your nerves, maybe turn to Armor Wars. It hasn't begun filming yet, but it's expected to begin in 2023.
Cool.
Loki Season 2.
Woo!
Over in maybe Incest Town. Loki is looking forward to a Season 2 and will feature a new cast member in Ke Huy Quan, fresh off that glorious Harrison Ford pick.
Wow. That's funny.
Fantastic Four.
Now,
what?
Is John Krasinski gonna play Reed Richards?
No news on that so far. Matt Shakman to direct Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four in theaters November 8th, 2024. Apparently he is of WandaVision fame. That name doesn't sound familiar to me, so obviously he was involved with that show. I don't recall how.
Sure.
I expect that John Krasinski will probably in it. I don't think that they would have cast him for that role if he
right, like just for the tease. Yeah.
Echo
the dolphin?
Echo. One Disney Plus series that has gotten people excited is the upcoming Echo, which will follow Maya Lopez returning as Echo after Hawkeye.
Why has this gotten people excited? I think we need to all be on board that Hawkeye was not good.
I still haven't seen it yet, so. The series does not have a premiere date yet, but will likely appear mid-2023, according to Variety.
Still need to discuss the Hawkeye twist whenever you see it.
I'm getting to it. Daredevil...
May not be a twist.
Daredevil Born Again.
Woo!
Production doesn't kick off until next year for Marvel Studios' Daredevil Born Again, but D23 Expo got to hear from the stars themselves. Welcome back to Hell's Kitchen. There's pictures of Kevin Feige and Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio. Daredevil's coming back too in Daredevil Born Again. Not much to report here as the series has not begun filming, but we do know the character will be featured in an upcoming episode of She-Hulk, which I have still not started watching.
Oh, cool.
Captain America New World Order. It's the first film featuring Anthony Mackie as Captain America sometime in 2020.
Oh, this is a movie?
Yep.
Huh.
Thunderbolts, which I saw a cool picture of the other day, and I don't recall everyone who was in it. Let's see if I can find it. But bringing sitcom acting to the MCU will be Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who is returning to play Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine in the upcoming film
That's just absurd.
The film will premiere in theaters July 26, 2024. Now, let me see if I can find a picture. There was a picture that came out this weekend with all of the actors/actresses. Okay, so we have a picture here of the lineup, and it looks like Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the aforementioned Contessa, whatever the fuck her name was. We have Ghost from Ant-Man 2, the girl who kept disappearing, reappearing. Yep. We have, I'm going to call him Captain Russia because I don't remember his name, from Black Widow.
Yep.
As well as Florence Pugh, also from that movie. And
is this just like Marvel's Suicide Squad? It's like, what's going on here?
Kind of, sort of. We also have the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, was it U.S. Agent? The Captain America knockoff. And then we have the, was it Crossbones? Is that, no, not Crossbones. Who the fuck was the other one from Black Widow? The girl.
Taskmaster?
Yes, Taskmaster. That's it.
Mm.
That's the lineup on this cast photo. So
it is Suicide Squad.
Yes. Oh, here you go. There's a parenthetical in the second graph. Yes, it's essentially Marvel's answers to Suicide Squad.
That's the answer.
Yeah, sorry. Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, played by Julia Dreyfus. Ghost, played by Hannah John Kamen. Red Guardian, played by David Harbour.
There it is.
Belova, played by Florence Pugh. I like Captain Russia better.
I do too.
Winter Soldier, played by Sebastian Stan. U.S. Agent, played by Wyatt Russell. And Taskmaster, played by Olga Kurylenko.
I don't really care about that one.
I kind of like the cast, but as far as the movie or itself or whatever,
I'm gonna see it. Obviously, I'm gonna see all of this.
Marvels.
I'm very far behind though. I still have to finish Moon Knight. I've got to watch Miss Marvel. I've got to She-Hulk.
Oh, I haven't seen any of Miss Marvel yet either.
Yeah.
The Marvels. Rounding out the Marvel presentation is The Marvels, an upcoming film directed by Candyman's Nia DaCosta and featuring Miss Marvel herself.
Cool.
The film will premiere July 28th. 20th Century Studios. Avatar: The Way of Water.
Disney is a monopoly.
Avatar: The Way of Water made waves today. Director James Cameron, producer John Landau, Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, Stephen Lang, Jamie Flatters, Bailey Bass, Jack Champion, and Trinity Bliss gave fans a special look at the upcoming film. It's still slated to premiere December 16th and is already guaranteed to be one of the most discussed movies of the year.
I'm excited. I'm happy to watch it. I've been itching to watch Avatar for years, and I just haven't sat down to do it.
Well, have you seen they're doing a theatrical re-release?
I did, which is kind of cool.
I'm sure they're pissed that they lost out on the box office, and they're probably trying to steal that back too. I'm sure it's just to get people to remember that that's a thing that's coming out later this year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been so many years to release a sequel. 13, they have to. Right? Yeah.
Disney Plus has The Muppets Mayhem. We'll follow the Electric Mayhem Band as they record their first album. High School Musical: The Musical: The Series.
I'm all for the title of this.
Season 4 follows the main characters as they find out the cast of the original High School Musical films are filming High School Musical 4 at their school, and they get to be extras. Awesome. So I guess the original cast is coming back?
That's kind of cool.
American-born Chinese. If you've been missing the Everything Everywhere All at Once cast, then the upcoming American-born Chinese series is for you. It will feature Everything Everywhere All at Once cast members including Michelle Yeoh, Stephanie Su, and Keo Kwan. He's having a moment.
Yes.
And will debut on the streaming service in 2023. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, because they're still doing that stuff. Calling all Greek mythology nerds, the upcoming TV series Percy Jackson and the Olympians released a teaser featuring a much younger cast than the original film.
I feel like we could breeze through the rest of this. The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. The Growing Up. Assorted Christmas specials.
It's just called Assorted.
The Santa Claus. Wait, what?
The Santa Claus is.
Oh, the Santa Clauses. Oh, that's cool. It is an actual sequel.
Here you go. This is what you want.
Here we go. National Treasure Edge of History. Get after it.
Looks like it's a television show and there's no Nicolas Cage.
Interesting.
I'm not entirely sure I'll be watching it now.
Yeah. I mean, I probably will just because I love that type of puzzle stuff that they do in there, but we'll see.
We have Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. We have Choir. We have Madou. We have Big Shot, starring John Stamos for whatever reason. Doogie Kamealoha MD. Apparently it's a second season. I have no idea what that is. Prom Pact. Disney Junior stuff, including Young Jedi Adventures, which I already think I told you should watch with Elia. Under Wraps 2. Didn't we talk about Under Wraps not that long ago?
Oh my god, Under Wraps. Get down. And we did talk about Under Wraps not that long ago.
And then we got Raven's Home and Descendants 4, which largely means nothing to me.
Cool. That's a lot of stuff. Jesus.
It was a lot of stuff. I was longer of an. I thought I read the whole article, and I still missed several things at the bottom. I had no idea.
Yeah. Wild. That's cool, though. I love I like a nice D23 Expo. It's always fun. The only other thing on our rundown for this week is the Emmys. Nothing overly surprising from it. I will say the best part of the Emmys was twofold. One was Keenan hosting them because he is just fantastic and I love him so much. And two, Kel showed up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. it was a very fun, just very short little bit that they did together, and it was perfect.
Well, that's good.
But just a couple of quick things here for outstanding drama series. No surprise, Succession. I feel like it's kind of been the favorite for a while now. Outstanding comedy series was Ted Lasso, which, I mean, sure, perfect.
Yeah,
I'm all for it. I will say, Rhea Seehorn did not get her Emmy. At least she was nominated.
Yeah,
but feel like should have been nominated before and gotten one by now.
Well, we talked about that for the last several years. Her and Bob were finally both nominated. Neither of them won. Technically, these are for the episodes in the first half of the final season. They will be up for nomination again next year for the back.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
There wasn't, if you hadn't noticed that there wasn't as much hand-wringing about that as you might have thought, it's because they get another shot at it next year.
Okay, in that case, I'm actually kind of cool with how it went down for supporting actress because Ozark is over.
Yes.
And Julia Garner kind of has, I mean, how many seasons of that show? I feel like she was like really young when the show started, no?
She wasn't that young because she was her first major-ish role that I'm aware of was she was in The Americans. She was.
Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else entirely.
She was a small, but I think I'm thinking of the right person. I hope she was a small but recurring role in that show, and she was pretty good in that. But she was quite young in that, like, which is to say, like probably 16 or something like that.
Gotcha. Oh, that's cool then. But I do like if a show's going out and the performance was outstanding and they haven't gotten an award yet. I do appreciate them getting an award at that moment.
Yeah.
So like maybe Rhea Seehorn will have her moment.
It sucks that we're going to be robbed of the immediacy of that being right after the show ended. It'll be the momentum will be gone, but hopefully people will remember how great they were. Yeah. But Succession is. I loved Better Call Saul. We both loved it. Mm-hmm. You haven't watched Succession?
No.
I love Succession. It is a worthy winner anytime it's nominated for anything. It's such a fantastic show. The cast is so fantastic. So even if ultimately Bob and Ray were both shut out by Succession, they lost to a worthy adversary.
Sure. Jason Sudeikis took lead actor in a comedy. Outstanding lead actress in a comedy went to Jean Smart for Hacks, which I don't even know what that show is. It's
a comedy on HBO. It's about an aging comedian. From what I understand, that title is hers to hold as long as that show continues, which it's up for debate whether that will continue to a third season.
Gotcha. Outstanding supporting actor in a comedy series went to Brett Goldstein, which was really fun. He had a cool speech where he was like, I got cut off last time because I cursed. I didn't get to thank my parents and my family because they won't air it in the UK when that happens. And so I just want to say, and then he cursed again. And it was just, to tremendous effect for everybody listening.
He's having quite a moment himself. More on that later.
Yep.
Also, he might be the second best British actor at cursing behind Matt Berry because him cursing in Ted Lasso is not. It can't quite measure up to Laszlo in What We Do in the Shadows, but he's pretty fantastic in it as well.
I agree. Supporting actress in a comedy went to Cheryl Lee Ralph, Abbott Elementary. I skip over limited series. I also, you know what? I take that back. Limited series, fine. Reality competition stuff, no, nope, no Emmys, please. It diminishes the value of the other ones.
Yeah,
it's bullshit. That's right. That's all we're gonna go through for that. But it was actually a decent award show, and I feel like there hasn't been a decent one in a while, and I do think a lot of it had to do with one. Well, they had a host for the Oscars, but the Oscars was weird because it was like kind of half the amount of people as usual. It felt like it was very small because it was still kind of like getting back into the groove of people being in the same place at the same time. This felt very much like the old Emmys, and it was fun. Like I enjoy the award shows. I enjoy the host being there. I enjoy the host like making jokes and taking cracks at people and doing it over and over again. And Keaton was great.
Yeah, I saw a couple of his jokes filtered out. I did chuckle watching a couple of the clips from it. There was one in particular that I got a good laugh out of, and I don't remember what it was now because it was a few days ago. But yeah, it seems like from what very little I saw, he did a decent job. So he
also like he's doing like reoccurring, really cheesy stabs at Netflix for losing money, and it was just great. I just really enjoyed it. I had fun with that. Granted, it felt like it was 4 hours long because every 2 seconds there's a commercial break, and it's horrible.
Oof.
But I mean, we recorded it and fast forwarded that shit because I don't watch commercials. And I'm not sorry. That's it for news and nuggets. I think we should do a little consumption before getting into our...
I'll try to be brief because we went very long on that.
Yeah. All right. So what do you got for consumption?
So football's back.
Is that it?
Been watching. been drowning myself in it. It's so good to be back. In addition to the watching of the football, college and pro, in particular, I'm talking about pros back this week. There's some fantastic games this week. I also got to go to a college football game on Saturday. I went to the Army game on Saturday. Cool. So that was fun. We had pretty great seats. We were at like the 10-yard line and like 6 rows up. So
nice.
Ended up being a really good game. If anyone who doesn't know anything about Army football, and for those of you who do, typically they throw the ball about 3 times a game. They threw it at least 6 or 7 times, including like a 60-yard passing touchdown, which I was flabbergasted by. So on the second drive of the game, I said, "What Army is this? I don't know this Army." That being said, I enjoyed it. It was like September 10th, and the forecast was for like 80 degrees and slightly sunny, and it was like 90 degrees and fully sunny. I got a little sunburn in September because I did not wear sunblock because I didn't expect to see not the slightest bit of shade that day.
Sure.
Also, West Point is like 20 minutes from where I live. So I went with my dad, one of his friends, and his son. He had won free tickets, so the 4 of us went. They were panicked because it does take a very long time to get on base, especially for stuff like that. So we're like, oh, we're going to leave super early. It's a 12 o'clock kickoff. Let's leave by 9 o'clock. We left the house at like 9:02. Perfect timing. We were parked by 9:30 flat, and we were left up to our own designs for 2 hours, which means we crushed so many beers.
Oh my gosh.
Walked up the hill to the stadium, watched the game. It was a good time. It was a good day.
Nice. What else? Yeah, let's go through all of your consumption. We'll pair up on the ones that are also mine, and then we'll do my set.
Okay. Did you watch any Rings of Power yet?
I finally watched 1 episode.
Okay, so that's good because I also have only seen the first episode, even though at this moment there are 3 episodes out. Haven't had the time to watch the other 2 yet.
Same. The problem was I had started. I wanted to see. I was talking with Kim, seeing if she was interested. She said she would give it a try. We sat down to watch it. She wasn't getting into it. It was like, totally fine, but I'm not going to watch the rest of it now. Then I'd much rather watch it like down here with the sick TV and everything.
Yeah.
So eventually made the time. Did it? I actually think it was like last night or the night before I watched it, the first episode, and I loved it.
Yeah, it's good.
I ate it up. I just thought it was awesome. Just like I was so captivated, like the way they did the prologue to get you into it, and then like now we're gonna start the story. Like given all of this, like we have a lot of exposition to get through. Let's do this up front, and let's throw you into the story. And I was just like, I am here for this,
which is great because it does mirror what was done at the start of the original movie, and they obviously did a variation of that early on in The Hobbit. Not quite the exact same way, but it's a cool way to have both a nod to that, and also it's a useful device for. We have a ton of backstory because for anyone who doesn't know, I actually wasn't 100% sure about this until around the time the show was coming out. So apparently Amazon purchased the rights to licensed stuff from the
books,
like
right?
The Hobbit and the trilogy and the appendices,
Mm-hmm.
but they do not own the rights to Silmarillion,
Okay.
which largely covers the First Age and technically the time before time,
Right.
before the First Age. This show firmly takes place in the Second Age, so it's pretty much exclusively synthesized from the appendices, which
Right.
are at the end of the third book, as well as any harkening back and legends that took place during the course of those books, as well as taking forward the fact that things existed from the Silmarillion. They can't cover it, but they can reference that it happened, which is what largely happened during that prologue, which enjoyed the prologue, thought it was very well executed. It was a cool way to do that. But I thought, considering we watched that a week or two after the first episode of Hot D, that I was like, okay, they're going to just do this, and then maybe they'll do their title sequence for the second episode, because that's how House of the Dragon did it. They did their first episode with their little prologue, jumped right into the episode. Second episode, they did their full-blown title sequence. Nope, it's 17 minutes into the first episode of Rings of Power. We get a title card and title sequence. 17 minutes has got to be the longest cold open in the history of cold opens.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. For sure. But
Which isn't a complaint. Just
no, it was good though. Yeah, I'm glad that they did it though, because it set the stage. I know. I definitely had to like. It wasn't clear to Kim got through most of that. We got up to the title card, and then I stopped it. Okay. And she wasn't super into it, but I had to like explain the time passage and stuff like that, because like it was kind of said pretty quickly, and I understand how elves work. I just knew what was going on, and like I think for her it was a little bit like, what? Wait, what? Why? How is this? What do you mean centuries? So
they live forever.
Yeah, exactly. So that was but yeah, that's fun. I'm happy to watch that one and soak it in. I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes.
It looks fantastic.
It looks so good. The quality of it is unreal.
That sequence at the end of the first episode when they're on the boat and like the curtains to like Valinor opening with the music and soaring, like that was the music in the show was already fantastic.
If you were wondering, is HDR worth it? I encourage you to watch that scene. But
so man. I'm definitely excited to continue watching the show. I just, considering it came out 2 Fridays ago, I watched the first episode, didn't have time that weekend for the second episode. I was like, surely I'll have time now with the start of football, with a couple of fantasy drafts, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. Football starting Thursday night. Friday, what was it? There was something going on Friday night. Saturday, went to a college football game, hosted people. Sunday, wall-to-wall football. Monday night football. I just haven't had... And then I was watching this movie.
Sure.
A bit of it Monday, because I got home from work actually slightly early for me on Monday. I watched like half an hour on Monday night. Watched the rest of it Tuesday night. I just haven't had time, and I'm quickly falling behind. I still haven't watched the most recent episode of House of the Dragon either.
Maybe for different reasons, but same.
I've watched like the first 3 or 4 episodes, however many's out. Yeah, I just didn't see the most recent one.
Yeah.
So very much enjoying both of the shows. If you'd like to transition to House of the Dragon,
yeah, I am also watching that. I haven't seen the latest episode. I'm not bought in yet.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really feeling it. I don't think I find it a little blah.
I like it. I thought the first episode was really, really good. We talked about that one in our last episode. Mm-hmm. The episodes since then, I think, have largely been pretty damn good too. Mm-hmm. I think it is settling a bit into a different flow. Like they were really trying to grab you with that first episode, and I think they succeeded. Mm-hmm. The rest of it has been a lot of table setting in a way that can kill momentum a little bit.
Yeah, I guess the problem though is I actually usually enjoy that stuff a lot, and I'm just not super compelled by the story.
Okay, I thought that whole sequence that was set up, I guess that wasn't the last episode, right? I think it was the one before it. It's all starting to blur in my head now. The sequence that kicked off with Rhaegar and... Not Rhaegar, Jesus Christ. Was it Daemon? Yeah, Daemon. Daemon and Corlys Velaryon and his son and brother and all of them taking out the crab feeder.
Yeah, I keep calling him Crawdaddy.
That whole sequence, Viserys going back and forth, will he, won't he help them?
Mm-hmm.
Which one is better or worse? Which one makes me look stronger or weaker? I thought all of that was pretty compelling, that back and forth.
Yeah.
Him finally making the decision, and then Daemon trying to throw it back in his face by saying, fuck you, I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah.
That whole sequence with his charge, I thought that was...
That sequence was cool. I mean, I do, like, like execution-wise, I thought that was, like, the choreography was pretty strong. I can't quite put my finger on it, but every time an episode...
It's time drums.
What?
It's the time drums.
I don't even mind that stuff that much. Every time an episode ends, I'm just like, is this good? And like, I'm not sold on it.
Okay.
But I'm going to keep watching it. I'm absolutely going to watch this season and most likely the run of the show. Yeah. I'm just hoping that it gets to a point where I'm really oh, it's Sunday, awesome. Versus, I'll watch it when I watch it, which is where I'm at. It's
definitely not bad. I think it's good. I do think I could understand how it's hard with the level of investment in the original show. When this feels similar but not the same, it could probably be hard to invest in some of these characters as of yet, because they feel similar but they're not the same, and we still haven't got enough to invest in them themselves, and that's going to jar itself in its own way. At some point this season, and it may be the very end of the season, we're going to get a big time jump that is going to have some of those characters recast. Namely, Alicent and Rhaenyra are going to be recast with different actresses later in the season.
That'll be interesting. But we'll see. Like I said, I'll keep watching it, but I'm not currently sold.
Okay, that's fair.
What else you got? What are you watching?
Beer.
What'd you say?
Beer. Yeah.
You're watching beer?
No, consuming
it. A lot of it?
Will be Saturday, Hudson Valley Craft Beer Festival.
Oh, fun.
At the Beacon Waterfront. It's one of my favorite events. I've gone most of the last several years, with the exception of 2020 when it didn't exist. Went last year, went the year before that. Went 2019. I think I missed 2018. Went like 2 or 3 years in a row before that.
Nice.
Such a great event. Looking forward to it. Nice day out, right on the riverfront.
It's no Whiskey Live.
Good food.
But that sounds cool. It sounds cool. It's no Whiskey Live, but it sounds cool.
It's safer. I've never gotten blackout drunk.
I'm sure it's safer. Yeah, the Whiskey Live is a dangerous situation to be in.
I've gotten drunk enough that I will not drive home from Craft Beer Festival, but did not black out in any of them. Borderline of blackout when we went to...
Dude, I mean, we easily drank... Like, I feel like we each had to have had a bottle of whiskey that night.
We tallied it up. We tried roughly 30 whiskeys.
Yikes.
Which was like... I think we were basically getting served half shots, so we did like 15 shots of whiskey.
Yeah, it was... There wasn't enough paella to soak that up.
Yeah, we probably should have taken advantage of the free food a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean,
the food that we paid for in the ticket, but
the
food was fine.
Is there food at this beer thing that you go to?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different food trucks around.
That's cool.
So yeah,
who's going?
Time.
What former members of the show are going?
Former members of the show. Well, so Peanut Gallery will be there,
sure,
as well as Mrs. Peanut Gallery. Ms. Peanut Gallery. We haven't named Dominic's girlfriend on the show, so we won't.
Sure.
To this point, one of his friends / his boss in the military.
Cool.
They
The
walk
cock
line
commander?
They walk the line of I don't know 100% know what the fraternization rules are outside of work hours with the military. It is a NCO to NCO relationship. It's not an officer NCO relationship, but still, they get along well. They respect each other at work, so it's all good.
Cool.
Possibly one or two other people. So, but yeah, it'll be a good little group.
Nice.
Have a good time. There's usually like 70 or 100 beers or something there, and
It's a lot of beer.
From like a whole mess of breweries, and it's a good time. Really
Cool.
good time.
Right on. Well, since you're talking about things that you actually consumed, I had what I have dubbed Italian chili.
Bolognese?
Kind of. I've been doing on Sunday nights for the past like 3 or 4 weeks. I have made a massive meal that could then be merged into one pot, so that could be served over the course of the week, so I don't have to cook dinner every night.
Okay.
And this week,
Look at you getting old.
This week I made Italian chili, and it was basically bolognese. I didn't do the veal. I did pork and beef, chopped meat. Little carrots, celery, and onions. Sauteed those up. A bunch of garlic, because obviously. Then the meats, and got those going. I had a gigantic tin of tomatoes left over from pizzas that I had made this weekend, so I used that as the base for the sauce. And I blanched a lot of broccoli rabe.
Blanched
and then
rabe?
Yeah, and then I let that stew in the sauce for a couple of hours.
What is the blanching of the broccoli rabe? I've heard blanching tomatoes.
It removes a bunch of the bitterness.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it makes it much more palatable. And then it keeps all the flavor behind. So like you still get like that mustardy flavor, which is nice.
I feel like the bitterness is one of the selling points of the broccoli rabe.
It's too bitter, I think.
Is it more or less bitter than Swiss chard?
It's more bitter than Swiss chard. Swiss chard is super earthy. And if you blanch the Swiss chard, it'll also remove some of that.
Whenever I think of Swiss chard, I think of the market after dark, the farmer's market after dark from Parks and Rec.
Absolutely.
Get a chard on.
Get a chard on.
And they're doing the shots of Swiss chard, and the girl's like, so bitter.
Yeah. so I did all of that, and then I did brown rice cooked in like chicken broth and some saffron and oregano.
And then I broke out the saffron for brown rice?
I did. And it came out
overindulgent.
Wonderful. And I mixed all of it together in a giant ass bowl. Okay. And now I just scoop it out. And that's Italian chili. And it's so goddamn good. Also, Elio loses his mind over it. Cannot get enough on the spoon fast enough for him. It's fantastic.
We had bolognese the other day. We had bolognese on over cavatelli.
Nice. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, man. Back to shows, though. I've binged 3 shows over the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks. So I don't know if any of these made it in the previous episode, but they may have. Did we already talk about Never Have I Ever?
That sounds familiar. But
okay.
I'm having trouble placing it.
Burned through season 3 of that in 2 nights with Kim. We love that show.
That does sound familiar.
So good. Trying on Apple TV Plus. Burned through the 3rd season of that. Again, really fast. I think it was 2 nights, maybe 3 at the most, probably 2. And then just this past weekend, Friday night, we sat down for dinner. We're like, we want to watch something. What should we put on? I don't know. Do that whole thing. Should we watch a movie? Should we watch a TV show? Is there something we should start that we haven't watched yet? Let's do the thing and start scrolling. We open up Netflix. It's like season 5 of Cobra Kai. It's just dropped. And we're like, perfect. So 2 days. Done. Okay. And it was a treat. I love Cobra Kai. It is such a tremendous soap opera. It's so good. It's just so silly and outlandish and fun to watch. I don't know, and I don't even have the the huge draw for the original Karate Kid movies. Like I've seen the first one. I don't even know if I've seen the second or third. Definitely haven't seen the fourth.
I've seen like the past half hour of the second one. I don't think I've ever seen the third one at all.
The show does a pretty good job of referencing the movies, playing clips from it, and tying it all in, even if you haven't seen it, which is pretty cool. But it makes me want to go back and watch it. Anyway, it was a wild ride, a lot of fun. It not as fun as the previous seasons because it focused a little bit too much on the adults versus the kids, who are the more compelling story in it. But it was still a treat. I love me some Cobra Kai. Lots of fun. Final note on consumption. I haven't consumed it yet. I will be consuming it tomorrow, but I'm very excited. Clerks 3.
Is that out?
Yeah, so it's a Fathom event tomorrow at the movie theater over here. So there's a chance that some folks will be there from the movie. Oh, cool. Which will be cool.
Well, you live in the right area, I guess, right?
Yeah. I mean, he used to go to the theater, so...
Yeah.
That's cool. But I am so excited. I love Clerks. I'm super excited for this movie.
I feel like I should definitely... I caught a bit of Clerks 2 several months ago.
I love Clerks 2.
I saw the first one once, and I probably not under ideal conditions. I think I was a little tired because I didn't really retain much of it. Mm-hmm. They were playing hockey on the roof.
Yep.
I mean, I remember other things too, but like... I feel like I just remember impressions more than specific.
Sure. Yeah, you should. I think you would very much like the first one, especially.
I really like the second one, so I doubt I would dislike the first one. And I've liked, like I said, I basically liked all of them with the exception of Chasing Amy. So.
I love Chasing Amy.
I know you do, and I know I don't like it. So.
Go fuck yourself.
I mean, my favorite one, I think, is Mallrats. Mallrats,
sure.
I really love.
I do love Mallrats. I'm torn between like Mallrats and Clerks or Clerks 2. I'm always torn between Clerks and Clerks 2 because they're both very different and very funny in their own right. I love Mallrats because I think it's just so hilarious. But the Clerks ones appeal to a certain time in my life of working at the pizzeria. Yeah. So I think there's that aspect of it, which makes it, but it's just, I love them all so much. So
I definitely would like to see Clerks 3. I think I would like to try and rewatch those two. I don't know how and when I'll get around to that, but I would like to see those two before seeing it.
Yeah.
But that's exciting.
That's it for my consumption. Do you have anything else?
I have one final one. I have kicked off very slowly. I've only had a little bit of time with the ramp up of football season. The ramp up of the podcasts that I listen to has coincided, and so we have decided to kick off the Foundation series of books by Isaac.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I know you started watching. Did you watch the whole season?
I didn't. I just kind of trailed off, not for any particular reason, but I was really enjoying the show.
Yeah, I didn't actually get to watch any of it, but so we decided the way that they were written is not 100% chronological versus the release date of them. So we decided to start with the chronologically first book, which is not the first book that was written. It was Prelude to Foundation.
Interesting.
I've always wanted to read some Asimov, never have. Now, technically, his three major series, and I think he wrote other stuff too, but his three major series were the Empire series, the Robot series, and the Foundation series. Chronologically, I believe it's Robots, Empire, Foundation. iRobot is like the first of the Robot series.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. From what I understand, overall, that series of books is considered the weakest of the three series. It's supposedly good and people enjoy it all. Empire is supposed to be pretty good. The Foundation series is supposed to be the best. And the kickoff of Prelude to Foundation exists with a fully formed galactic empire, which obviously was formed in the course of the running of Empire. I think originally, I don't know if...
so they all coincide too?
They all exist within the same...
I didn't realize that.
Chronology, yes.
Oh, that's cool.
So, iRobot, if you remember the movie, took place in the near-ish future. Like, I don't know if it's like 100 years from now or something like that, but the point is it's it's a conceivable timeline ahead of time, and then Empire is supposed to be some way down the line, and then Foundation is supposed to be so far down the line, in akin to the way that Dune is, where it's referencing obviously the same Earth, but actually is led on fairly early on in the series. They don't really have good records of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, some people don't even believe it existed. And so it's cool. So the principle behind Foundation is Dr. Harry Seldon, who is a mathematician who develops a hypothetical equation that he dubs psychohistory, which he thinks that if you could find the proper variables of things that have already happened, you could reasonably predict the future.
Right.
And obviously the powers that be within the galaxy want to get their hands on harnessing that power if it's something that he could make a feasible equation. And so I don't actually know how Foundation starts. I just decided, you know what? If they exist chronologically and it's finite and consistent and the series is done, why not just start at the beginning chronologically and just go through it? So I am like a third or so through Prelude to Foundation.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
That's pretty cool. That's interesting. I feel like the way that the show is focused, it's more not so much wanting to get their hand, the way that it's been framed from what I've seen so far is like not so much people wanting to get their hands on it, but more that it's threatening the existence of like I guess, for lack of a better term, like the monarchy of the universe. So like they're like kind of pissed about it. But I have to go back to it because I was really enjoying it. It's a very, very cool aesthetic.
Okay.
I really like the way that it was shot. And it's just, I don't know, it was very compelling. So I would like to get back to it. It definitely like first like 3 or 4 episodes, I feel like we're like very establishing of like what's going on and like, which was great. Like I said earlier, like I eat that stuff up. I like that like world building, like that history. Like what are we doing here? Like what's the story? And then it just like went bonkers in like the next episode. And I was like, I think that might have been when I accidentally trailed off, where I was like, if I go back into it, it's probably going to be like jumping right back into the middle of a war, but it's pretty cool. So.
Yeah, I don't know if the show picks up directly with Foundation or if it's meant to. I know the show itself is supposed to span a substantial amount of time. The book series spans a very substantial period of time. There seems to be some very obvious analogs between Dune and Foundation. They obviously tackle some very different, or they deliver it in some very different ways, but I think they're tackling some similar subject matter. Yeah, I don't know. I've at this point, stayed away from the show. I think it's something I'll get to down the line because I very much would like to see it. I like a bunch of the actors in it. So
yeah, I think that makes sense to wait if you're starting to read it. Cool, right on. I'm excited to hear more about that. I've got nothing else for the consumption. Are you good on that?
No, that's all my major stuff.
Well, with that, let us get into our flick of the week. Thor Love and Thunder, released in 2022, rated PG-13 with a 1 hour and 58-minute runtime. Your IMDb synopsis. Thor enlists the help of Valkyrie, Korg, and an ex-girlfriend, Jane Foster, to fight Gore the God Butcher, who intends to make the gods extinct. It's pretty good. That's a pretty good... So I like that synopsis. It cuts to the chase. This is like the main storyline, but like all of the heart is excluded from it, which is... I think which is a good way to do a synopsis. Like these are the main driving points of the plot. Everything else is the movie. So I appreciate that.
It's like a very clinical definition that doesn't get to the specific details, but gets the overarching like facts right.
Yeah, for sure. I very much enjoyed this one. Why don't you kick us off with your IMDb synopsis?
While it may lack the alchemical brilliance of its predecessor, it certainly shares DNA with it. Thor Love and Thunder is quite a ride, both darker and dorkier than Ragnarok, and features the best Marvel villain since Thanos, even if Gore doesn't get enough screen time. 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's weird. Ours start off very similar. And we don't share these beforehand.
Intentionally so.
While it lacks the cohesion of Ragnarok, Love and Thunder remains a worthy successor.
think we're basically saying the same thing.
Again, 7 out of 10, which is also weird. But
we literally, like, even, like, most of the time we try not to talk too much. If we really love or really hate a movie, we'll usually start talking very obliquely about this stuff on text ahead of time, especially if we watch it several days ahead of time. I didn't finish it until last night. I didn't know when you ended up getting to see it in theater or not?
I did, but a while ago.
Well, so that was, I couldn't remember if you were trying to see Thor and ended up seeing Maverick, or if you were trying to see Maverick and you
trying to see Maverick, right? Ended up seeing Thor.
I thought so, but I wasn't 100% sure. Yeah, we really haven't talked about this at all, other than like very, very briefly when you saw it.
Yeah.
But
which is great because we love us some Taika Waititi.
Yes.
In this house. So it is kind of funny that we haven't gone too into it, but that's good for this episode. Like I said, like similar to what you're saying, like there is something about it. It's not quite the level that Ragnarok is. Ragnarok is fantastic. Ragnarok is great. One of the best MCU movies. Absolutely. And this is, it does a lot of things. It definitely like has a lot of that DNA, right? A lot of the structure of it, a lot of the jokes, the relationships, all the stuff that was really, really worked well there is here, except for maybe the overarching story. And I feel like the story itself is not. It's a little bit bumpy in spots, and delivery wise and mechanics are not tremendous. I don't know what it is. This pacing's a little bit off. Or like,
so I actually didn't object too badly to the pacing, with one exception. And part of this may be user error because I put this on Monday night. I got home from work. Usually on Monday, the earliest I get home is like 5:30. I got home at like 4:45. So it's like, okay, I have a little bit of time in my schedule I don't anticipate. I know I'm going to watch the football game tonight. I put it on, see as much as I can watch before I got to jump in the shower and have dinner and all that stuff. I got about half hour-ish in. I chose a very specific spot to turn it off. It's right after when Thor finally returns to Earth and Gorr's attacked New Asgard. They have the big fight, and he first meets up with Jane and figures out this whole thing with her becoming
the mighty
Thor.
Yeah.
And the fight's over. Gorr kidnaps the children, and they're just about to start the after-action report. It's like, okay, this is a good time for a clean break.
Yep.
Come back to it whenever I can come back to it. And I turn it back on from there, and they do that whole conversation. They start to figure out some stuff, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And then right after that, when they first come up with a plan, screeching halt. The momentum of the movie is just comes to a screeching halt for 15 minutes. And it's like, we were pretty propulsive up until this point. We got some backstory. We got some exposition. We got some jokes. We got a couple of different storylines we're following. There's a lot going on. Yeah. It's all moving. Sometimes fast, sometimes
what
slow,
happens in that pocket? I don't even remember. I know what you're talking about because it was. I remember. I was feeling the same way that after the. I thought maybe the attack on New Asgard dragged slightly, but it was also had a bit of comedy and again, like they were like unveiling some character relationships and whatnot in there, so that was fine. And then, but like you said, like there's something around that pocket of time that made me go, something's amiss, and I don't even remember what happens next.
So yeah, they have that fight. They figure out the kids are gone.
Yep.
They meet in like the town hall. They're trying to sort out the crisis.
Oh my god, when the guy with the blades is taking the minutes.
Oh, me?
Can you stop that infernal sound?
So all of that was like, first it's really like heartbreaking, and then it becomes like slapstick during that whole sequence, right? Mm-hmm. We're gonna go find this, and he uses the Rainbow Bridge and lands like 100 yards away.
Yeah. The defective Bifrost.
Yeah. So that was all good up until that point, and then from that moment on, because then they all disperse and he sneaks back in, and him and Korg and Val and Jane come up with a plan. They do the thing where he talks to Heimdall's son. Astrid / Axel.
Yeah.
And really cool, by the way. That was a really cool new thing where he says, "Hey, like Heimdall taught me this," and he starts to take himself seriously in his whole role again, which I think that we can talk about a little bit later. I think that's one of the problems with this movie, but that was what I thought really cool, where he was able to like look through his eyes and communicate with them and all that.
Yeah.
And then they come up with their plan. He recognizes right they're heading to the Shadow Realm, and okay, let's come up with a plan. And from then, where they're like getting the ship together, they realize they got to use Stormbreaker, but that Stormbreaker is on the fritz.
Yep.
And
they have to channel the energy through the goats and all that.
Yes, that right there, it really comes to a screeching halt.
Yeah, I agree. On top of that, like, while I think it is cool, right? The whole communicating with Heimdall's son, like that concept is cool, but I think we did it maybe one too many times throughout the course of the movie. Like it made sense and it was necessary to get things going they
only did it 2 or 3 times and it made sense as just like a kind of I thought they used it just as the proper I think they did it twice. They used it as the proper device to recenter what's going on, because remember, after he does the first communication, they go to Omnipotent City and they're there for like 20 minutes and they don't talk about the kids at all.
Yeah.
So they do it again to reframe. Okay, we went on that diversion in order to come back around and save the kids. So
I'm also thinking of the other scene where like Gore is in the cage with the kids while Heimdall's son is trying to keep them.
So that's the scene. That's the scene that's probably extraneous.
Yeah, that whole thing was a little bit much. Like we're just like, cool, and I get it. I do think I think that is a worthy deleted scene that you can go check out and enjoy, but breaks the movie a little bit. Like it just. I think
they realized, fuck, we have a really good thing with Christian Bale in this role, and we just don't have him on screen long enough. Let's just leave him here to kind of deepen, the character as well as showcase him, who's committing to this bit fully. And it's like, you're right, it doesn't really work with the whole, but I feel like without it, we'd be deprived some of getting.
That's fair. In. That's. I mean, he does a really good job with this really creepy, disturbing character.
And I really liked how they started with like, he's an empathetic character to begin with.
Yeah.
In the prologue, and
it shows the corruption. Well,
yes, showing his decay as a person throughout all of that. I thought it was helpful to get all of that, and that's why I said I think this is the best like villain we've got, at least on the movie side. The best villain we've gotten since Thanos was killed, and I appreciated that, even though he really did not get nearly enough screen time. And part of it is he's the first character we've got in a long time who was a villain who, like Thanos, you could actually empathize with his pursuit, right? Like you're going to reject it ultimately. Like he's going to kill all these gods, and that might be right or wrong, but it would be one thing if he was just assassinating the gods. He's killing so many innocent people on the way to doing that.
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, even if you had an argument for what you were trying to do here, it falls flat when you're leaving oceans of blood behind you.
Right.
But like, because you know where he came from and he's not doing it for his own personal power, which again was another thing that loops him in with Thanos, right? Thanos was never doing it to become master of the universe, right?
Right.
He's perfectly content to die after he completed his mission. Same thing with Gore. Gore, I think, ultimately knows that he says to Jane later in the movie, "Oh, you're dying. We're on the same path."
Yeah, like he's more. I feel like he's more Wanda villain in that way, where it's like he's corrupted by this thing, and like that is leveraging his emotions and fears. That's pushing him to be the conduit for what the actual sword wants, which is to strike down all the gods, right? And it's explained well, I feel like, with Gore, whereas that was one of my issues that we talked about in Multiverse of Madness, where it's like Wanda's motivations, I get it, but like the lengths that she's going through are convoluted because it's not really portrayed well, that it's like kind of like this corruption from the Darkhold type of thing. It really is like the same story. Like,
it is, although the only thing actually I thought this one was missing, they're kind of like weird, bizarro mirrors of each other, is I wish I knew what the Necro sword
I like a little bit more about that. Yeah, like that. I
Like,
agree.
because I assumed we were going to find there was some entity that was channeling through it, because the
Sure.
sword's talking to him at the beginning, telling him to kill all the gods. It's like, okay, I fully understand why he wants to kill the gods, and I fully understand that the Necrosword is, like you said, leveraging that emotion in an unhealthy way, in addition to actually killing him in the process.
Yeah.
But why does a sword have motivation?
Right.
What I figured we would at some point find some puppet master that was pulling the string of the swords, like kind of like a Sauron's One Ring, where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
the ring wants to get back to Sauron because there is a Sauron to get back to. So I was wondering if we're going to get some connection between the sword and eternity, or the sword and some other celestial or something like that. That was,
Never
maybe
quite
had
arrives.
yeah. So like, why would the sword have motivations?
Yeah, you know what though? These are all of the things that are taking away from the movie that are preventing it from reaching that status that Ragnarok
Yes.
reaches, and that's. I mean, while that's a shame, still a very enjoyable movie.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I really enjoyed the Gore thing. I thought that he was a cool conduit to some both really cool themes and thoughts and plot lines, as well as some cool stuff on screen. I mean, that Shadow Realm sequence, since we saw the little snippet of it in the trailer, I was like, oh, that looks cool as hell.
That I call that the color pop fight. That was really awesome. Where just the weapons had color. That was so. It was very Sin City.
That whole sequence was really cool. I think part of it is just Taika Waititi wanted to fuck around and do some black and white shooting, but that's okay because we got some really cool scenes within it.
But also, those creepy shadow monsters, did they give off a claymation vibe to you? Was it something about their framed movement that reminded me of a little bit of a Tim Burton thing?
At times, I wouldn't say every scene, but in certain sequences,
that was weird.
I think specifically in the black and white sequences.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Which actually was probably maybe even more of a harkening back to a old school Godzilla or King Kong.
That's true. That's true. That could be the motivation for that too. One thing I thought was interesting with Gore, we see him, like you said, really cool to see him in the beginning as who the man is before he becomes this villain, and I appreciate the way that they go down that path. It's okay, makes sense. I'm not going to question it. It makes sense that he would be absolutely pissed and then also corrupted easily, which is great. But the transition of his physical form into what he becomes is so interesting to me. That's the darkness is kind of taking over him, right? Is it so he kind of the color it gets removed from him as well. But one of the things I thought was weird was some of his physical features, what used to be these colored almost tattoos going down his head ended up looking like it was stitching holding his head together.
I think it was basically becoming scars, and the stitching was over top of it.
Yeah, it was really creepy and weird. I mean, that's really cool costume design though. That stuff is let's make this look. Let's show the corruption in so many different ways, his actions, his physical appearance, the choice to have him kind of chewing on ink through every scene. It's very off-putting, but it doesn't make me mad. It's not in a way that makes me mad because he can deliver his lines so well that you hear them clearly. It just makes it very uncomfortable, which is kind of the point. He is this dark entity at that point, and that's. I thought that was really cool. I can get on board with you're saying you don't want to cut that scene out necessarily with him and the kids because it is so. It's let me ham it up a bit. Let me be super gore for a second. But pretty cool character.
We got some really good moments where he played the range of emotions. So he was a little bit cheesy, but also super grounded when he captures the three of them in the Shadow Realm, and he has his kind of private seduction of each of them, trying to get them over to his side to do what he needs to do, or what he feels like he needs to do. Some of those moments you got to actually see some of the dramatic as opposed to the melodramatic stuff from him, specifically when he's talking to Jane. I thought because I think he's obviously twisting the knife and cruel when he's talking to Thor, and he walks the line between that grounded and that hyper campy villain when he's talking to Val. And then when he gets to Jane, you almost even fall for the empathy sympathy card that he plays.
Mm-hmm.
We talking to her, we're not so different, you and I.
Yeah.
Both dying, both empowered by this thing, but then
we're not so different, you and I.
You remember when I said that?
Oh man.
So watching that dynamic play out across his relationship with the three of them in that very short sequence, we chewed up so much scenery and theme and plot in that very small period of time that was I thought super efficient, really.
Yeah, that was exposition through strong performance, right? And it was just I love that whole like what you mentioned earlier with him talking to Jane about we're on the same path, really unveiling the whole she's dying, I'm going to die by the end of this regardless, and that was cool. Him, the way that he's talking to Thor, and he knows that he can manipulate Thor a little bit here because it is so clear to everybody how hooked on Jane he really is and how much he loves her. And then what I thought was really cool was Valkyrie's always played this tormented character, and they kind of just resurfaced that story because I feel like it's taken a bit of a back seat where all of the people that she loved died on the battlefield, and she survived, and the torment that she's going through, she's always drunk, right? She's always putting this Band-Aid over her emotions, and he just calls it out like it's nothing. And it's just I just thought it was really cool to bring that character's emotions and story back into light, because I do feel like it's a cool character that they needs a little bit more focus.
Well, the funny thing was is he calls it out immediately, but also so does Korg in a totally separate scene.
Mm-hmm. When he very blatantly says what it the very textbook example of what she's feeling, how she's feeling, and why, and she goes, yeah, something like that.
I feel like you're missing the fact that your girlfriend maybe died on the battlefield and you're alone and maybe you blame yourself for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That being said, Korg remains to be one of the best MCU characters, and bookending this movie with him doing the narration was perfection. He went from dad bod to god bod. Is that what it was?
Yes. Yeah. He went from dad bod to he went from sad bod to dad.
Sad bod to dad bod.
Oh no, sorry. God
sad
bod
to god bod.
Sad bod and sad bod to dad bod.
Oh man, I love Korg so much. Must be hard for you to see your ex-girlfriend and your ex-hammer hanging out getting on so well.
I will say, even as corny and cheesy as some of this was, I really liked the introduction of the relationship between the Thor and their weapon. Because we always knew, obviously, there was a deep connection and he was the only one who was worthy, and then we found that maybe there was one or two other people in the galaxy who were worthy, and that's fine. But ultimately, right, we disabused ourselves of that notion slightly with one of my favorite lines in all of the MCU when Thor has that moment with Odin in was it in a dream or in what, I forget, where he says or his sequence, I forget if it was a dream sequence or what, where he goes, but Mjolnir's gone, I don't have my hammer, and he goes, are you Thor, the god of hammers, or are you Thor, the god of thunder? The hammer is just meant to channel that power or whatever. That's where he fully actualizes in Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
And so we've been disabused of the notion of him needing the weapon, but that he's better with the weapon because it's a focus and a channel for his own natural power. And I liked that we got to intersperse sequences of him fighting with the weapon versus on his own.
Yes.
And seeing that when he's in control, he can fight just as well without it, but some of his cooler sequences happen with it.
For sure.
And watching not just the relationship of, oh, this is important to me in the perspective of when I have this, I feel like the best version of myself.
Right.
To it is almost its own sentient thing that we have a symbiotic relationship with, and that it can have its own thoughts and emotions. And Stormbreaker's on the fritz some because the two of them are on the fritz, and one of them is jealous of the other, and he's jealous of the hammer and of Jane. God.
when he does that thing when he tries to call over Mjolnir, and he's like, "Come on, come on!" And Stormbreaker comes from the side of the screen, slowly sliding. Hey, you!
So fantastic, and trumped only by one specific scene, and it's when he tries to make amends with Mjolnir on
Give him
the
a beer,
and he pours the beer on the.
and it's just like delicious or something like that. After he
Yes, because you're probably old enough now to finally enjoy your own first beer, and we should have a first beer together. And he pours like, "Oh yes, is it delicious?"
Oh man, Jane, I want to feel shitty about you.
Let me try that again.
Oh man, that's so good. I do love it. I like that they keep harping on it. The relationship with the with the weapon. It's just so funny. When he's talking about how cool Zeus's Thunderbolt is. And the ship kind of like kips because the Stormbreaker's getting pissed.
This is a perfect weapon for you.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so good. I back to Korg, and speaking of Thunderbolt for a second, also Lightning Bolt. His name is Thunderbolt. If you really liked someone's weapon or admired it so much, I think you call it by the right name. How ridiculous was that Zeus performance?
Yeah, I had heard about it, and he really went for Greek by way of Baba da Boopy Italian.
Yeah,
American.
Yes, he really did.
It was a choice.
It was, and it kind of works in the realm of like this new Ragnarok Thor.
I'm not saying it was the wrong choice. I'm just saying it was a choice.
No, I know. But I think the one thing that in particular that gets me is when he lands the little stage thing that he's on, and he like lifts his skirt and runs down the steps.
Yes, that was.
Oh, that killed me. But when he threw Thunderbolt at Korg, I nearly had a panic attack.
Yeah. There's no fucking way.
I was like, this, yeah. And then, turns out the only thing that's alive are our mouths. It's so good. I do like that also tying him to the back of Valkyrie's head, and he was giving very, very specific times of where 7:45, 8:20.
Yeah. What does he do? Also, I love that her hair became like a very awkward handlebar mustache.
Yes,
for him.
perfect. Perfect. Trying to whistle for the goats.
Oh,
That's not it. That's not it. That's not it.
I got big C-3PO and Empire Strike Backs on Chewie's back vibes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I can see that for sure. The when the goats arrive the first time and they are screaming, I'm just like, oh god. I was like, first off, like we're like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years too late on this joke. And then they screamed a couple more times, and I was like, I feel like this is going to get old. And then somehow they used it so perfect that the one that gets me, and I've watched the movie twice now, both times, laugh out loud moment, is when they were approaching that realm, the black and white one, and they crash into it, and there's a pause, and then the goat scream. Like, it's very dark and very serious, and then the scream happens, and I was like, you sons of bitches, you got me.
Also, I was really confused at first until I realized, oh, it's the Shadow Realm. Rainbows don't exist. That's why they crashed.
Yeah.
Also, the screaming goats even got to get into that fight, too. They took out one of those Shadow Monsters.
They did, and while screaming.
Yes, of course.
But it was, that side kick was pretty great. That was pretty great. When they're in Zeus's, when they're in whatever that council area is, who's talking? Korg was like, these guys. Korg! You never said go.
I did appreciate all the ridiculous gods. I appreciate that. I could not parse what the name of Korg's god was, but that the rock god was sitting on a throne of scissors, Iron Throne style, because rock beats scissors.
Yep.
Perfect joke. Just perfect, 10 out of 10, no notes.
Bao, the god of dumplings?
Bao.
Oh, you know what joke really got me? Another one that I actually think I may have lost a little bit of my drink in the theater when this one happened was when Thor visits Sif and he's like, maybe your arm is in Valhalla.
Yes. Just leave me to die here, as I will go to join my forebears in the halls of Valhalla. See, you have to die valiantly in battle, and you have survived the battle. So, perhaps your arm rests in the halls of Valhalla.
I looked up a bunch of quotes from the movie. There's no ding dong or bum rushing, especially not Zeus's bum.
Sorry, on the topic of Sif, before I forget.
Yeah.
Well, I think my favorite part of Old Korg's narration is when he talks about the deaths of the Warriors 3 and doesn't even know who they are.
Yeah.
During that, and then he had a lot of loss. He lost his mom and his dad and his brother, and then his brother again, and then his brother again. He lost that guy, and he lost that guy, and that guy too.
Oh my god! When he's in the council and Zeus flicks off his clothes and he's got the Loki tattoo on his back.
Not just the Loki tattoo, the incredibly dramatic and over-the-top Loki. It was as bad as the Ben Affleck dragon tattoo.
Oh, man. Speaking of over-the-top and dramatic, the cameo of Matt Damon again, and was it Luke Hemsworth?
Yes, and Sam Neill.
And Sam Neill. So good.
And Melissa McCarthy?
That was good, too, yeah. As Hela.
Yeah.
So funny. The sprinkling of the gold glitter as I'm disappearing.
I'm turned into dust. Oh, look at me.
Oh, and after the town falls into disarray, they have to go to Valkyrie and like, can we put on a performance of this? The town needs this right now. I didn't hear a no.
I didn't hear a no.
Oh man. What a silly movie. I was about to say something and I lost it. To fast forward a moment to the end, final battle with the kids, imbuing them with the power of Thor for a limited time only was really great way of actually like, okay, how do we do this? How do we tie this area up and get these kids out of here? And then letting them absolutely wreak havoc and kick ass, including the girl with the bunny, which may be the best scene of that fight. Just screaming and turning in circles and just vaporizing things with the bunny was pretty amazing. I absolutely loved that. And I also thought they did some pretty cool things with the mechanics of Mjolnir and like breaking the necro. Was it necro sword? Necro.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. Actually, one thing in general with Mjolnir, the whole new feature that it has, because it is in a million pieces, of being able to like project out into a bunch of pieces and like do like a wide area of damage was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, that was cool as shit. I thought just using it as projectiles, blowing it up, bring it back together, watching it shred through people. The way it grabbed those sections of the necro sword,
so cool.
And then she's able to bash it at the end with it like internal to it. I thought that was all really cool.
So badass. Only to end in the death of Jane.
I was honestly a little surprised that was the way they went with it, but I'm not surprised that they could only get her back for one movie, considering all the trials and tribulations they went to get her.
Saw the post-credit scene now?
I did.
Okay. The second one?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like she's in...
I feel like she'll be back.
I mean, I was just as surprised that they got her back Idris Elba for that. I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure it took him 45 minutes to shoot that scene, but still. I thought he had been kind of done with the series, which is why they killed him off in Ragnarok.
That was... no, it was... wasn't it Endgame? Infinity War, I mean? The first one.
War. Yeah. I guess so.
That was such an abrupt end. Like to some characters who was like, oh my god, what is happening right now? In that opening of that movie. It's such a great movie. God, I want to rewatch everything. I want to rewatch it all. I love it so much. The bringing back Gore's finally, now that the sword is gone, it actually kind of makes sense that there's now a little bit more reasoning with Gore. And it's easier they can actually get through to him, and his wish instead is for his daughter to be back. That scene of the reflection pool and the daughter, and like in the reflection, it looks like eternity. And then as they pan back up out of the reflection, it's his daughter. That was such a cool transition.
Also, his performance in that singular scene was entirely too much for this movie. Like, I mean that like complimentarily. Like, that was like, I'm not saying he should be nominated for an Oscar. He shouldn't be nominated for an Oscar,
but he's like always going for it.
Delivering like Oscar caliber work in the last 90 seconds of his screen time in this ridiculous superhero movie. It's like, Christian, no one's making you do this. I appreciate you're doing it, but no one is making you do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty intense. This will always get like cheers and applause from me, but the way that the finale is narrated, many just know them as simply Love and Thunder. Like that, like as they're diving through that was so cool. What'd you say?
I said, they said it.
That was just that was so badass.
Getting back for a second to the Gore thing, I actually thought that was a really cool way to bring it all full circle, right? Because he said, obviously he was doing it all for his daughter, and he says, we were talking to already. He's talking to Jane. We're both on the same path. It's both going to end up with us dead. But he was willing to lay down his life to get back his daughter. And once his head was clear, him realizing that he was going to lay down his life to get back his daughter, but then his daughter wouldn't get the benefits of him and his life, and realizing what a Pyrrhic victory that would be, and trying to make amends by securing Thor's help for her, realizing, oh, I fucked up so bad. And also kind of the gall of him to ask Thor to care for his daughter after he just was responsible for the death of the woman he loved.
Yeah.
But to show the grace in Thor to be able to look past that, to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
We also got a lot of...
Well, that was the whole thing, that Thor is the god that they should be.
He was the god that they deserve, but not the one they needed, right?
Yeah.
And also we had a pretty heavy amount of soundtrack exposition / other foreshadowing, as they used Sweet Child of Mine 2 or 3 times during the course of this movie. Then had Korg and Val talk about how Thor would be such a great father, but that ultimately him and Jane probably wouldn't be able to have a kid.
Yep. Do you think that Thor and Jane will stand over a lava rock?
But like the level of foreshadowing was palpable throughout the course of the movie, and then for them to pay that off with him having a child by obviously very unconventional means, even more unconventional than holding hands in front of lava.
Yeah,
that was nice and poetic and all. Also, on the topic of Korg and Jane, I really appreciated that every time he tried to recall what her name was, he kept getting it wrong with different actresses.
Yep.
Jane Fonda, Jodie Foster.
Yep. So good. Oh my god. I was just scrolling through and I saw there was I have one final note. No, I have two actually, but one quote note, which is back when when Thor is trying to rally everybody in the town hall, and he's like, we're gonna get the children back, and then we shall feast. Not all the children. We don't do that anymore. Oh my god! I love that they can have those ridiculous lines. Like, I think that's where it's almost the juxtaposition is like too much, right? It's like the dichotomy of like there's like how serious some of the story is versus the comedy. Whereas like Ragnarok, it's all extra campy, and it works. Whereas like it's maybe it was Christian Bale just bringing too much to the table that actually does break away. Like it makes it too serious in those moments.
Well, I just think that they struck a better balance. They kind of found ways to seamlessly transition from we're having fun and we're riffing here and we're doing jazz hands and to okay, let's have a character moment for 5 minutes here.
Yeah.
As opposed to this one, it felt like wild swings. Like they couldn't get the meter dialed in. Where hey, we're doing jazz hands and oh god, sad and jazz hands sad.
Yeah,
it's like whoa. Like the yo-yoing, I think is part of it. Just that it was a little rougher around the edges. I think another thing I kind of alluded to earlier that I want to talk about a little bit more. Another one of the major, I'm going to say flaws in this, in regards to what holds it from being as good as Ragnarok, which is a very high bar to measure against, obviously. I think, a lot of the conversation around why the first two Thor movies ultimately were a failure, with the exception of budgetary fuckery in the first one, is that they didn't really know what to do with the character.
Yeah.
And that Taika Waititi is the first person to really figure out what to do with the character. And they didn't exactly retread the same ground in this one, but it comes a little close to it. And I think that, we saw so much growth in him through the course of Ragnarok, where he finally becomes actually, not the god they deserve, but the one they needed right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was the one who actually saves them from, the destruction of Asgard and all, and spirits them away and makes the self-sacrifice
right.
In a way that he had never done before to save his own people. And then he immediately hands off the reins to Valkyrie, which I get, and that's fine in the Avengers movies, right? And he goes through his depression after Infinity War into Endgame. Yeah. So in the third one, he was trying to figure out how to grow up. He figures out how to grow up. And then in the fourth one, he's trying to figure out who he is. And I think, like, when you look at him quickly, those two processes can look pretty similar.
Yeah.
So it feels like he's retreading a lot of the same ground, even though he isn't exactly. Because at this point, like, he does some of the childish, cheesy stuff that they just play for comedy at times. And that's largely fine. But it's different flavors of the mopiness of trying to figure out what to do next that it can feel similar, even though it's not.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
Because he still carries on the heroic journey. He doesn't have to be prodded. In fact, he's the one who does the prodding. No, we got to go save these kids.
Yeah, for sure.
So he clearly has still the leadership role, even though he doesn't have necessarily the fully actualized sense of purpose.
Yeah. Mm. It's interesting to me. Yeah, you're right about. I'm just sorry. Just like I'm bouncing all over the place, but like I think like you said, like discovering who he is. Like he's past the putting on of a facade of like while determining like what his journey is or like who he's becoming. Now he's like past all of that. He's actually on this like internal self-discovery without the projection of like trying to be something else. He's just almost like adrift as he's figuring it out, which is a different vibe for sure. The one thing I thought was really weird, it almost seems like they maybe backed themselves into a corner with the end of Endgame and him leaving with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I feel like they didn't have to have much more, but like it seemed like let's quickly get out of this thing that we started because it's not really the story that we want to tell. Like they had to, and I appreciate that they didn't just skip over it entirely and they had them in there for a little bit, but it felt a little bit weird to start the movie off like that and then just get them out of there because it's like actually we have too many other things to focus on. We don't have room for this. And
I actually wondered, considering how quickly they shoved them at the door, I actually expected them to come back for the end game.
Sure.
So I was a little disappointed to see that didn't happen, but there was so much else going on I get why they didn't, but I thought that would have been kind of nice dovetailing of those two stories, like, and like how you come back full circle
Yeah.
on all of that. I'm glad that they, like you said, I'm glad they actually tackled some of it. And I had said when we saw Endgame, I was really looking forward to seeing what that would look like, because I thought that Taika Waititi could do some fun stuff with the Guardians.
Yeah.
Obviously, we love what James Gunn's done with all of that, but it would have been cool to see Taika take his hand in it, and he didn't really too much. And I get it; it's tough to ask them all to do this as well, but it would have been.
Cracklin, have you been here that whole time? This is my wife. What do we tell you about diving headfirst into relationships?
No, diving headfirst into marriage.
Marriage.
We should stop doing that. Yes, we should stop doing that, which implies that this is like the 10th time he's done this.
Oh, man. I also liked the goodbye handshake. Human handshake, Asgardian handshake. The serpent is a devious one.
Wow, you're really dragging this out.
Finish with the Asgardian high one. I love it. The ridiculousness of that character, like, it's so funny. Like, Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man, right? Like, he created the on-screen version of Iron Man in a way that nothing else could replace that. Like, that is Iron Man. And I feel like Chris Hemsworth has done a tremendous job evolving Thor into that, where this is what Thor is now. And like, there's no other picture of him for me. It's just this goofy, lovable, like, trying to figure things out, kind of adolescent because he lives forever, like, guy. And it's wonderful. It's so well done. I love it. I also love that Korg found love.
Yeah, with what was his name? Was it Frank or Jeff or something?
Something like that. Very distinct mustache.
Yeah, which who knew that rocks could grow a mustache?
Yeah. I just like also that he grew his body back. Don't worry about it.
Which that's probably all you gotta say.
It's fine.
Right?
I don't care. I don't need it anymore.
I kind of wondered whether he would just stay as a face, because that would have been sad at first. Well, I thought they were going to kill him off. I was like, wow, does this mean like Taika's done entirely? And we still have some hope. And actually, further to that point, I was surprised considering at the end of Endgame, it seemed like he might be out the door, and then we got Thor: Love and Thunder. It's like, okay, is this going to be the end of his story? And at the end of the movie, it says Thor will return.
Okay.
I'm very pleased to see, considering most of the rest of the legacy first run of the Avengers is kind of gone.
Yeah, I do feel like there's a chance that the next Thor is maybe like Thor Valhalla, and it is the last that we see of him.
Well, I also wonder, we just might not really see him for a long time, and he's comes back for like the Kang Dynasty,
sure,
Avengers Kang Dynasty. Like, we could just not see him for 3 years.
Well, I mean, as it stands, that's probably going to be the case. It's either that or he'll show up in Guardians, right?
It's possible.
Like, to tie maybe to tie it in there instead of the other way, like we thought they were going to do.
You're going to need someone of his power for the fight against Kang, right?
Yeah, for sure. That'll be interesting. Oh, he's going to lose his mind when he sees Loki, though.
Yeah, which it'll be cool to see that reunion again. I'm sure they'll have a good joke cooked up for when he sees his tattoo.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or when Thor tries to hide his tattoo.
I hope so.
The weirder thing is going to see Thor with Loki and other Loki.
Yeah.
Are we going to get a whole thing considering like Loki fell in love with Loki, and is like Thor also going to fall in love with Loki?
Yes. It's just going to be Three's Company MCU.
Also, I don't know why, but Matt Damon in the knockoff Loki costume with the all black and the black tie. I don't know why, it kind of cracks me up.
Yeah, same. It's just because it just looks like community theater Loki.
Yeah,
so good. Anything else in this movie? Hercules.
Yeah. Well, wait. Okay. So actually, sorry. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. We definitely need to talk about that for a second. So was I? Well, I'll grant I was slightly tired at the end of that movie. But is that what he said in his terrible Greek accent? Did he say Hercules?
Yes.
Okay, because I thought he kind of garbled his line there, and I wasn't 100% sure what he said. Didn't matter what he said, honestly. Um, but yeah, so the
No,
funny
what he
thing
said was, I know it was hard to understand, but he said he's here, he's there, he's every fucking
he's every
way.
fucking
Roy
way.
Kent.
Roy Kent. So months ago, when the movie came out, I heard that he had a brief cameo in the movie, and he talked about how they literally gave him 2 weeks to like get in shape, which doesn't make sense, but okay.
Yeah.
And then months went by, and I watched this movie, and I totally forgot that he was supposed to be in it.
Nice.
And when I saw him, I was like, "Oh my god, that's right! He's supposed to be in this movie. Here he is." That's cool as hell. I mean, it takes the baton from the end of Eternals, where we had a bunch of characters possibly introduced, which took the baton from Guardians 2, which had both of those movies ended with Adam Warlock, right? So some versions of Adam, and in this one we get Hercules, I guess. Is it Brett Goldstein, right?
Yes.
He's having a moment for himself. He's also in that commercial for, I forget what it's for. He's a soccer player. And I'll send you the commercial. He's in it for 2 seconds. It's totally random. But I'm pretty sure, because like Bill Lawrence is like kind of a friend of the Limited show, so he's on once in a while. Like I guess he's been living in Miami recently for whatever other project he's working on currently. I forget if it's a movie or a show. And so he'll stop in by the show once in a while or call in. And so Brett was kind of sort of one of the co-writer / creators of that show, and originally wasn't supposed to act in the show, and then ended up booking the role of Roy, and they expanded the role because he was so good at it.
That's pretty funny. I love that.
Which I had no idea, because I didn't know that he wasn't like, because if you look, like he's one of the executive producers of the show.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that was kind of sort of how like the shorthand version of how that story went. I had just heard that pretty recently on the show. So between all of that, like he's really had quite the the rise all of a sudden, and that's cool. We'll see what Hercules is all about. I do think it's funny that like we have the existence of a Thor, and we kept talking about gods, and then when he mentions that there's a Zeus, she's like, "Wait, the Zeus? Like Zeus? I think it's just his first name." Like that was where she lost it. Like she was cool with the idea of a Thor and an Odin and Loki and all the rest, and there are so many other gods. Okay, sure, that makes sense, I guess. But we draw the line at Zeus.
That's pretty funny. That scene was great. I also really love when Mighty Thor is trying to find her catchphrase throughout the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Eat my hammer!
That was a cool moment as she's about to go and she whispers in his ear. That's the best one yet.
Firstly, it's Mighty Thor. Otherwise, I'll take Dr. Jane Foster. Third.
So you don't think that's actually Valhalla in the final cutscene? Or credit scene, whatever?
No, I think it is. I just think that Thor is going to end up there too.
Well, I suppose it's possible.
And
also,
Sif's arm.
The way they introduced it was kind of meant to be disorienting, right? Because she's died, gone on to heaven or whatever. But those arches she walks through, was that not the same as the arch that they were building in New Asgard?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, almost like a gate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got that. And it also seemed like it may have been broken in the same spot.
Oh, was it?
I'm not entirely sure. I feel like it might have been broken.
When his faulty Bifrost happened, he did.
Dude, when they do slapstick stuff like that in the background, and like a character is just careening through space, it's just
that's
really
what it is.
funny.
It's got to be in the background, right?
Yeah, I love it. But the other thing, Darcy got a little cameo, and you should play. What was it? You should play the God card. Is that what she says? The Viking card.
The what? What the what?
You should play the Viking card. The handsome Viking card.
The handsome Viking card. It's not a card. Yes,
it's a card.
It's a card. It's a very handsome card.
And it's very
handsome card. Well, she got a small cameo, but an even smaller cameo was Stellan Skarsgård. Is Eric Solvig.
So sad, though.
He was just on a computer screen for 9 seconds.
Yeah, just being depressed about Jane's cancer.
You got cancer. That's sad.
That's terrible.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Oh, man. When she's doing her chemo and the kid's reading the book, that was also pretty good.
Yeah.
You've never seen Event Horizon? Or, well, she names like 3 other things, right?
Interstellar was one of them. Event Horizon was one of them. I couldn't remember if there was another one. Did they ever allude to what she got cancer from? Was it from the ether or whatever?
I don't think they say. I feel like that's the assumption.
Right? Like, it'd have to be.
Yeah. But who knows? Or maybe just her exposure to, like, the Bifrost and such. But who knows? Because it would seem like it was out of nowhere and kind of rapid, right?
Yeah.
Doll Jane. Eat my hammer. Love it. Cool. You got anything else? I feel like you had one more thing before we went into the Hercules thing, so I just wanted to give you the floor one last time.
No, I think it was just going to be the Valhalla thing.
Sweet. Well, that's all for this week's episode of Flix in a Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixinasix@thespintune.com. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
And I'm yawning.
Thanks for coming out.